What was that? Yeah, that's why I'm kind of Trevor in the fact that we should talk. So I'm gonna meet with us. So maybe it's later.
(6:30). Oh, we need to start. All right. Good evening, everybody. I'd like to call this meeting to order. Welcome to the regular city council meeting for the city of Sunnyside for today, May 13, 2024. For the record, all members of council are present and accounted for, with the exception of Councilor Ripley, who is asked to be excused this evening. If there's no objection, she is excused. All right. And Ms. Hart is here via Zoom, the amazing wonder of technology that we've all learned about for the last couple of years. All right. Do we have someone here for the invocation this evening? All right. I'd like to ask you to rise for the invocation and please remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Gracious God and Father, we do thank you tonight for this city council and for those who serve our community in this way. Thank you for their desire to serve in this role. And I do pray for your blessing upon this meeting tonight, that you would grant them help for the decisions that must be made. Thank you also for those who serve our community in other ways, our first responders, our police, our firefighters. Pray that you would keep them safe, bless them in all that they do as they try to keep us safe in this community and uphold the rule of law. And I do pray personally for those in this city, that they would all have the opportunity to know the grace and mercy and love of Jesus Christ. And it's in Jesus' name that I pray. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may be seated. A couple of weeks ago, the Miss Sunnyside Court held a special event, the Spirit of Sunnyside Award, where a number of our citizens were given awards for outstanding contributions to our community. And as mayor and as council members, we did not want to jump on that and take away any of the shine from that particular event, because they put a great deal of effort into that and it went off really well. But we also wanted to take advantage of the opportunity to honor these same individuals before council and recognize your contributions. And as council and as members of the city, say thank you to you. We appreciate your efforts. We appreciate what you've done, because your contributions are what make this city a great place to live. And I am pleased to say that I know so many of you who have received this award and will be receiving the mayor's coin this evening. And I personally want to say thank you for your contribution to our city. I'm going to ask the following individuals or groups to come forward this evening, and they will be receiving a mayor's coin. And it has on one side the emblem of the city of Sunnyside, and on the other side it's got the likeness of the first mayor of the city of Sunnyside, Mayor James Henderson. He was the mayor from September 1902 to January of 1903. It was a short term, but that was just getting the city up and running. And so then they had general elections after that. So I'm going to ask you all to come forward and just kind of stand right up here in front of the dais. And I will be passing these coins out to you. First of all, Todd Kraus for Healthcare Person of the Year. Second will be Sarah Palomares, our Business Person of the Year. Third will be our Miss Sunnyside Court, our Nonprofit of the Year. Our fourth, it says only Cheryl here, but I'm guessing Chris is part of this as well. For Agribusiness of the Year, Chris and Cheryl Van Bell. Fifth, the folks from Bonvino's Bistro and Bakery for Beautification Award. Roger Hazard. Sixth is Sherry Holden, our Public Employee of the Year. And finally, the folks from Hoptown Wood Fired Pizza, our New Business of the Year. And please remain standing as I come around to pass out the coin. Jackie, do we have one more?
Yeah.
When we take out, we can. When it comes to really big numbers. Wow. Not gonna at the end with your clutches. Oh, congratulations.
Thank you, thank you.
Surgery, that was what this is all about. I'm glad you were able to be here tonight. All right, another round. Well, I want to congratulate you as well, but you certainly turn around and shake their hands as well. Congratulations.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
Congratulations, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
You have a cool girl up here. Yes, thank you. Thank you. Very much. Appreciate it. Thank you. It's an honor.
One more. Always shake your hand. Congratulations. So from the perspective of the mayor and council members, this is the fun part of being on city council. It is great seeing what our community is doing. And then getting to greet you personally is awesome. All right, our next item is public comments. Citizens are advised that they must limit their remarks to the council to 3 minutes. Council may refer items to staff for review and or research for presentation at a future council meeting. So we may or may not comment on what you say, but believe me, we're taking notes. All right, we've got a couple of people on our list for this evening, and our first person is Aliciana Aguirre.
Hi, I'm Alicia Aguirre. I live on Harrison Avenue here in Sunnyside. After watching the study session a few minutes ago, I heard the concern on chickens flying everywhere and causing damage. Per the SPCA, domestic backyard chickens cannot fly over fences that are over 4 feet tall. So the suggestion of keeping chickens in a fenced backyard should prove to keep them contained. Once again, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
You.
Our next person signed up is Sandra Sasadi.
Sandra Sasaki, I live on First Street, and that was one of the concerns that I want to bring up today. I know that there was like cameras put out on First Street. I don't know how long ago between it's South Hill Road and First Street by the lights. And I don't know if there's any possible way we can get like a radar speed sign, just because, you know, as our kids get off the bus, we have like the Parkland kids and it's a lot of students that get off, and just traffic there, it seems like it's the highway and it's not, it's 25 speed limit. And then on the weekends after 11 o'clock, it becomes fast and the furious there because it seems like cars are racing each other down that roadway. So I don't know if there's a possibility like a radar can get put out there. We do have over, I want to say 80 students that get off just on that area of Parkland and Olive. And so after school, I feel like that's also like cars tailgating, trying to go like 35, 40. And I mean, that's really dangerous out there. So just a suggestion or a thought, if anything like that can go out there. Thank you.
Thank you. I know we do have a portable unit. We can look into setting that up there for a little while. We don't have it anymore. Oh. Really? I remember one of those things being set up. Well, I take that back. We don't have a portable unit, but we're gonna look into something there. Next name on my list is Jean Mendoza.
Hola, mi nombre es Jean Mendoza. Soy la directora de los Friends of Tompkins Creek.
Ms. Mendoza, I do have to interrupt you. Are you going to interpret for yourself?
I just wanted to speak a few words in Spanish.
Very good. Sorry about that.
No problem. I see you're going to be hearing a presentation from Pacific Ag regarding the proposed Sunnyside Renewable Gas Digester. So I have a couple of comments. First, it's very important that the city of Sunnyside conduct an environmental impact statement for this project. It's a huge project. There's no way this facility can be built without having an impact on the environment. And the only way to look at the benefits and the deficits of this project is to conduct an environmental impact statement. Second, it's not my place to tell you what to do, but it's in my nature to do that. So I have some proposed questions for you that I think Pacific Ag could answer during their presentation. So if you don't mind, I'll
Hand them to Mr. Martin. He will see that we get this.
my suggested questions. I think this project, because it is so huge and will have such a big impact, requires a comprehensive explanation. Thank you.
Next name on my list, Maria Fernandez.
Good evening, Maria Fernandez with EA, and we're just on South 6 here in Sunnyside now. And I just wanted to echo what Jean Mendoza was just sharing. I think that when you have such a large project like the Sunnyside RNG being proposed for an area where citizens vocally came out in November, early December, to state their concerns about not having any information about what the Sunnyside RNG means to them as a neighbor. We still haven't received any responses other than just very hollow response of, we don't believe that we're required to provide any information. I still have a lingering question about the city's, and more specifically, the community and economic development directors' experience with conducting the SEPA reviews, therefore being able to provide a thorough and accurate environmental impact statement. We never received an answer to that question. And I think that the residents here in Sunnyside, all over Sunnyside, not just the immediate neighbors in that proposed area, deserve to have an answer as to how this project will impact them, including the questions that they had. What is this going to do to my property value? To live right next door to a biomethane plant. So there's just a lot of questions that I don't think were thoroughly answered. And I think that the residents in Sunnyside deserve to have those answers, especially given the fact that our area already is in the 90th percentile for the worst air in the country. And we still have dairies trucking in water to residents in Outlook because they don't have clean water to drink. So any sort of additional impact on top of the harms that we are already dealing with in our environment need to be addressed. We have always stated publicly that AIA doesn't support or oppose the Sunnyside RNG. We're just really wanting the information. We want to know what kind of impact this makes so that we're not further harming our community. Thank you.
Thank you. And finally, Jim Stevens.
Jim Stevens, 328 Grandview Avenue, Sunnyside. I think I'm supposed to state my place of residence. Is that correct?
City of Residence.
Pardon me?
City of Residence.
City, okay.
Yeah.
I wanted to commend the police department for their response. I've noticed a definite increase in response from the police department in the activity when our iWatch group gives them a call. Last week, we had a noise complaint down in our neighborhood. The people were playing extremely loud music. You'd hear it inside the houses, and gave them a call. They went over and politely asked the people to turn it down, made a notice of it, which they did. And I think a lot of the noise issues that we have in our community are just that people don't understand that this is not respectful of their neighbors, and it's actually invading their property and their right to be able to go home and listen to the music that they want to listen to. I saw a quote that the guy said, you know, our neighbors listen to some of the best music you can imagine, even if they don't like it. And I thought that was similar to what some of these occasions are. And the other one is dog barking. It's rampant in the community. And as someone would say, well, you know, that's to protect their property. Well, it is, but it's noisy. It's sometimes at 2, 3, 4, 5 in the morning. People have to work. They have to get up to work. Some people work shift work. And these folks need to sleep. And I mentioned this before. This is disrupting to their sleep, their health, and it's a violation of the noise ordinance. So I think that's something we really need to pay attention to. And again, the police are actually informing, they're educating people by coming to these people's houses and informing. It's not supposed to be a slap on the wrist or a slap across the side of the face. Let's just be respectful of one another. Thank you.
Thanks, sir. All right. I have one other name that was added, Chelsea Demas via Zoom.
Yeah. Hi.
Good evening.
Hi, Chelsea Demas. I am a resident of Sunnyside. I just wanted to give a quick shout out to all of the council members that have already responded and met with me in regards to the Pride Proclamation. I wanted to give public comment because I haven't heard from a couple city council members. So I just wanted to come on here to let them know that I am still expecting a reply so we can discuss the importance of the Pride Proclamation. I also wanted to give a quick comment regarding the special meeting discussion that happened previously before this meeting. I find it very concerning that some city council members were in a way taking sides regarding taking a picture over a proclamation that was presented by a community member. I do want to flag, I am not a lawyer, but I do understand the difference between a civil and criminal order. And I do want people to, or I encourage city council members to look up the difference and maybe consult with an attorney, because this is not a criminal charge, but a civil charge, which is very different. And so I want that to be taken into consideration when taking a photo with this individual that has worked tirelessly to make amends and to stand up for mental health and her own well-being. I do not condone any kind of harassment, but I do commend people who do make progress and do better. And I believe that this individual has done so. So I do invite again city council members to rethink their decision. And I applaud those who are okay with taking a photo and understand the matter more. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Demus. All right, that concludes the section of public comment for this evening. Next item on the agenda, the consent agenda. The consent agenda consists of the following: minutes. Approve the minutes of the March 18, 2024 special meeting retreat. Approve the minutes of the March 25, 2024 special meeting study session. Approve the minutes of the March 25, 2024 regular meeting. Payroll vouchers. Approve payroll vouchers numbers 119491 through 119496 and wire transfers as listed for $598,233.65 for the period ending May 8, 2024. Claim vouchers. Approve claim voucher numbers 109082 through 109147 and wire transfers as listed for $449,640.17 for the period ending on April 19, 2024. Approve claim voucher numbers 109148 through 109197 and wire transfers as listed for $187,313.72 for the period ending on April 26, 2024. And approve claim voucher numbers 109198 through 109241 and wire transfers as listed for $344,705.08 for the period ending on May 3, 2024. Council members, is there any item on the consent agenda that you'd wish to pull out for discussion? Yes, sir, Mr. Galvan.
4761 and 4762.
Do other council members, anything you wish to? All right, Mr. Galvan.
4761, it's $681 for bats for T-ball. I understand this is the second year we had T-ball. Are we using disposable bats or why do we need to buy T-ball or bats every year?
I think this was to add to the, because last year it was a big turnout and to add because of the group. I believe that's why they purchased more T-ball equipment.
Okay, but we're storing the equipment, right? We're not misplacing anything or?
No, this was just to add to what was already there.
Okay, and then 4762, it's $2,400 ARPA money for a switch replacement at the pool. Is that a switch, like a light switch?
No, that I believe is
That'll be for a network switch that was got damaged by water.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Thank you.
All right, that satisfies your question, sir? All right. No other things being pulled out. What is the desire of council on the consent agenda?
Move to approve.
I second.
All right, it's consented agenda. Approved. Motion by Deputy Mayor, second by Councilor Frausto. Is there debate on this item? Hearing none, all in favor of approving the consent agenda as presented, please signify by saying aye.
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 All opposed, no. I too vote aye. Motion passes. Active agenda. Active agenda, item A, Yakima Valley Conference of Governments 2023 Annual Report. Received the 2023 Annual Report from the YVCOG, Chris Wickenhagen. Ms. Wickenhagen, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council, for allowing me to present our 2023 Annual Report. We always come out and present to our councils because you are our members. This allows us to be able to share with you the work that was performed by our staff, along also with looking at the financials and where your money is being spent. So next, thanks, Jackie. YVCOG was formed in 1966. We work for the municipalities, and what we do is we offer any type of service, whether that is a program or administration for our members. We can take on any type of role you would like us to take on. COGs are very unique. We are a local government, but we are specific to the municipalities. Next. The 2023 Outstanding Service Award went to our Operations Board. This past year, our Operations Board is made up of our sheriff and our police chiefs from all of the participating municipalities. They truly got the crime lab up and going this past year with their hard work, dedication, their commitment, and also making sure that we understand what their needs are allowed us to have a ribbon cutting and have a crime lab that is actually benefiting them. So congratulations, Chief, you were there, and we truly appreciate your work. Next. So this is a staff at YVCOG. Depending upon the service that you are partaking in, you may have different staff people here presenting to you. I just wanted you to see their faces. I know that you see them at a lot of your community events also, and they are working on your behalf. Next. The first program that I'm going to share is the Crime Lab. And you can see up there some of our 2023 statistics. I will remind you that the Crime Lab opened August 7th. These statistics go through December 31st of 2023. So with our staff that was hired, these three ladies did an amazing job clearing out backlog at the Washington State Crime Lab of different guns that were there, and they were able to test fire them. And they also were able to go out to the different municipalities and clear out any backlog that they may have had in their evidence room as far as test firing. In your booklet and what is up for the public to see are also some of the descriptions of, we love the buzzwords in government. So some of those descriptions of what that means. Next. So this slide, what you're seeing in the pictures is we had a person who was just pulled over for a DUI, but the person had a gun, which is not allowed if they don't have a concealed weapons permit. And this gun was taken from the person and put into an evidence room. It was not sent to the state crime lab because the gun was taken off of someone who was not using it in a criminal activity. When our staff came on board, she was able to go and test fire this specific gun that was just confiscated and sitting in an evidence room for a couple years. What she learned after test firing this and running the casing through the NIBIN machine is that this specific gun was tied to 35 associations, 35 other crimes, 14 drive-by shootings, 3 homicides, 9 assaults. So that is why it is so important to test fire everything that we get. And when I say we, I mean your law enforcement. They're the ones who really are putting themselves out there. And they confiscate a lot of weapons that maybe are not used in a crime. And then we can test fire them and see if those specific guns were used in other activities. Next slide. So what you can see in this picture is all of the different associations of that one crime. So you can see that it's up and down the valley. Crime does not stay within specific borders of a municipality. And so what we have been able to do is share that information with other agencies and help them connect the dots with maybe some investigative work that they have been doing, and share that information, which was not happening previously because law enforcement is very busy in their own jurisdiction. And so they may not have known that maybe their neighbor or a couple cities over also was dealing maybe with a suspect that maybe they were also. And so we've been able to share between law enforcement some investigative information. And I'd really like to turn it over to Chief Lehman, because we can show you the data. We can share with you what our staff is doing, but really what matters is how it's working in his department. How is this impacting your officers, and how is this helping them with the job that they're doing?
You didn't warn me you're gonna do this.
You know what?
You didn't warn me you're gonna put me on the spot.
I know.
So the crime lab for us has been instrumental in getting rapid answers back on the NIBIN machine. So usually, we had a crime lab board meeting last week, and I think the turnaround time is under 2 days. When we send evidence prior to the crime lab to Cheney, which is considered our local lab with the Washington State Patrol, we were getting responses back in 2 to 3 weeks, and that was fast. But oftentimes maybe a couple of months. And then they would get a hit on a casing that it was tied to different crimes, like the previous slide. And they would just say, yeah, they're tied to previous crimes, and give it back to you. And then it's upon our department to do all of that work with new incoming cases and things like that. With the crime lab, they'll get those correlation cases, and then the crime analyst at the crime lab usually will help us put some of those cases together and tie them to each other. So that's been some of our big turnaround times are a lot faster. Being able to tie cases together quicker. And then we had one really successful case really early on with the crime lab, where we had a drive-by shooting, and we had the only information we had was it was a red truck. So with the flock cameras that we put in, we were able to narrow down red trucks within like a 30-minute window in that area. We got a license plate. We went to the house. The truck was sitting there, and there were casings in the bed of the truck. There were also casings at the scene. We were able to take them all to the crime lab and get a presumptive test, is what we call it. Well, I think Kathy came in on a Saturday and did it for us, because it was Friday evening, and we had an answer the next day. So
What we've also learned is, as Chief was just sharing, they would take everything to Cheney or ship it to them, depending upon if they could handle an officer not being on the streets. We have reduced Cheney's backlog by 70% by just taking the Yakima Valley's backlog out of there. So next, thank you, Chief. Something else that we do is strategic facilitation. We offer this service for our councils. What we are able to do is help you identify the priorities and how you want to move forward. We've done this for quite a few of our councils out there, and they are able then to have some specific priorities and some steps to being able to achieve those goals. We are Grove trained. So Grove is actually out of California. It's about a week-long training. And for them to come in, it's about $40,000. We can offer that to our members for about $3,500, because all we do is charge you the actual cost. So if that is something that you are interested in, we would love to be able to offer that service to you. Next. We do the transportation planning for the entire Yakima Valley. So this past year, we had to develop a 20-year plan. So we got out the crystal ball, looked in there and tried to figure out what transportation is going to look like in 20 years. And we went out to our communities, the fair, we set up different booths, and we allowed the community members to vote on what they felt were the priorities with transportation. We gave everybody some fake monopoly money, and we said, if this is your tax money, where do you want us to spend it? And so they gave us these priorities, which you can see the results were road and bridge maintenance was number 1, passenger rail number 2. That one was a surprise to me. And public transit number 3. So we are really focusing on what those priorities were for the community with the plan that we put together. We submit that to the feds, to the state, which continues to allow you to be eligible to receive federal and state money for your transportation projects in Sunnyside. So next. This past year, Mapton received 2.2 million for their Main Street reconstruction, Grandview, 3 million for the Old Inland Empire Highway, Natchez Trail, 38,000. And then we were able to come back and award 4.8 million to the city of Yakima to be able to complete their North First project. So you can see up there a couple maps of those projects, and this funding that is awarded, this is funding that you are required to have matching funds for, and you have to be ready to move forward in what they call obligate these funds. So you have to actually start a project. You may have a lot of projects in the queue. You may just not be ready to move forward yet. Next. Something else that we do is land use planning. We created 6 housing action plans this past year to be able to look at the housing needs in our valley. And then we do a lot of current land use planning. So you can see Grandview and Granger had quite a bit of unique type planning, zoning ordinances, future land use, things like that. Next. And then Hera and Mapton, Tieton, Wapato, and Union Gap all had specific either comp plan updates or current land use planning. And then we also did do the Sunnyside's Housing Action Plan. Next. We also do the mapping, the GIS mapping. This is very beneficial when you are looking at specific things in your city as a council and different zoning. The map that you are looking at right now is what the state is projecting as far as being able to obligate funding to different communities. This is new for us, new for you guys. And so we will be working with your staff closely as we're looking at how to get money to Sunnyside. Next. And then the top map with the blue that is around it, that is currently what Amtrak, their route is. The passenger rail that we are working with the feds on, hopefully considering implementing here, is the red. So you can see that that goes from the west side down to about where Tri-Cities is. So it would go through your community also. Next. We do have our community law enforcement grant that is still going on. So what that really is trying to figure out how to assist community members to live in a safer community and how to work with law enforcement to do that. Where Maria does an amazing job going out and starting up community block watches, or how to do that, how to take care of your neighbor, how to trim your bushes so that if you did call law enforcement, they could actually see what was going on a little bit in your home before they went up to the door. It's nice to see if there is something going on before they walk in cold. So next. We also do community outreach. I'm sure Maria has been at Maria and Alma, a lot of your different events, but we do it for the commute trip. So bicycle riders, the block watches, the housing, anything that we are trying to gather your community's input on to be able to report back to you that this is what your community is interested in. These are their priorities, and hopefully they are also your priorities. Next. We have an emergency repair service for homes for senior citizens or people with disabilities. They do have to qualify to be able to receive this type of a service. So their AMI, the income in that home has to be at a certain level. But what we are able to do is if there is a homeowner and maybe their furnace goes out or their hot water tank goes out, they can contact us. We will do an assessment. If they qualify for that, we can go in and make that repair for them at no cost to them. The reason this is so important and so valuable for them is that number one, it keeps them from becoming displaced. And it also allows them to age in place. Those two things are extremely important for senior citizens and also for the people in your community. Next. And then we also have another grant that is very similar to that one, only this one is called Healthy Homes. So this one really focuses on mold, asbestos, broken windows, things like that that would affect somebody's health if they are not able to repair it. Next. And then we're also looking at attainable housing opportunities. So this goes hand in hand with your housing action plan. So your HAP that is done. For us to be able to come in and figure out how we can assist people with their down payment of purchasing a home. So it can be a market rate home or an affordable home, but it's things that we are working with the state on being able to do. Next. And then our future priorities. No surprise, everybody knows that the crime lab is 535 square feet with 4 people and all the equipment. So our number one priority is to be able to find and fund a new facility. So we're looking at some grants. We would like to stay in the Zilla area. It's centrally located for all of our agencies. And we think that that's important. We also are going to be starting up podcasts to be able to share with people what is going on in each of the communities and also to interview a lot of your citizens that live here. We're updating our webpage to make it more user-friendly, especially for people who are wanting to apply for some of those funding opportunities for their home repairs. Workforce development, we're looking at internships or being able to help to develop people who are interested in government jobs. That is one area that we are having a hard time finding people who are qualified to be a planner, somebody to work in government accounting. We just have some different nuances that we would like to be able to have an internship program at COG and then be able to plug them into our communities when you guys have an opening. Transportation, we are doing a call for projects for $4 million in federal money. Like I said, it does require a 20% match and you do have to be ready to move forward. So that although there was $4 million, that opportunity comes up each year. So your projects are not forgotten. Next page. And then planning. So we are working on 9 of our city's climate element. And then we're also going to be reaching out within this week to start talking about the cities that would like us to do their periodic updates. So your comprehensive plans are going to be due again. We're still doing the outreach, the health and housing, and the repairs. And then I guess the last thing I'd really like to share is that the crime lab, we were so excited about the rapid DNA machine this year, and we almost have it validated. So it will be ready to start working for law enforcement, hopefully by June 1st. That's our goal. So that is it. That is what we've been doing. In the back of your booklets are also some of the financial stuff. But if you have any questions or you'd like to meet for coffee, I would love to talk.
Chris, thank you so much. I am always encouraged by what the YVCOG is able to do, the many ways that they're able to help communities and, well, the whole county, actually. You guys really do an amazing amount of work that a lot of it's behind the scenes. We don't always see what you're doing. The Crime Lab has been my favorite project to watch it develop and see how successful it has been. Anything, you know, that we can do to keep our citizens safer, to solve crimes quicker, to discourage the criminal element from participating in those crimes, I think is a great thing. I don't know, council members, do you have questions or comments for Ms. Wickenhagen?
Just one quick.
Go ahead, sir.
With all the success with the Crime Lab, have you considered doing anything with the animal control, like getting all the cities together? And
I've had a few conversations about that, and I actually have somebody on staff now who would be interested in hosting some meetings to see what is it that the communities would like to do. Because we run a program, but we do what you want us to do in those programs. So I have heard animal control is up and down the valley an issue. So we could run a program for our members, but we need to understand what it is that you want. And then our members also have to fund it. So.
Further questions, Ms. Fausto?
Yeah, I guess along the same lines with Deputy Mayor Galvan and Animal Control, since we do have RNG here in the room today, and after hearing a couple of the public comments, what are we doing more as YVCOG to address a lot of the environmental issues that are impacting our people across the lower Yakima Valley?
Well, we work on specific projects and programs, and so if there is something specific, we would perform a SEPA or NEPA. So, but from my understanding is that you also have a planning staff, and I'm sure they are qualified also to perform those. But and we can work with your staff too and review each other's work and say, yep, this is awesome. So we have a great relationship with your staff, that you have amazing people working here. So but we do look at individual projects. So if that is what you're talking about. Also in our transportation, we do have a element, but we are almost at attainment. So, I understand what people are saying, but within the whole Yakima Valley, as far as the requirements go, we are almost at the point where we are not worried about the pollution.
Okay.
Further questions or comments?
Yeah. Didn't say I agreed with that, just said that that's what it is.
All right. Well, thank you, Chris, for being here.
Yes.
It's a great report. It's great to hear what you're doing. And like I said before, it's very encouraging to hear all the projects that you guys are involved in. And I thank you for coming.
Yeah, thank you. We love working with Sunnyside. So
that's good to hear. Our next item on the agenda is Pacific Ag Renewables presentation. We'll receive a presentation from Pacific Ag. Kip Curtis.
Thank you. I'm Kip Curtis from Pacific Ag, and with me today also is Harrison Pettit.
Gentlemen, welcome.
Yeah, so we're gonna just do a double team here. Nice to see you all. It's great to be here. My name is Harrison Pettit, Chief Development Officer for Pacific Ag and Pacific Ag Renewables. And our CEO, Bill Levy, would be here. He's actually sick in bed, so he sends his regards and is very sorry to miss this. But what we want to do is just give a brief overview of the project, kind of also introduce who we are. We're thrilled to be working and having a project in Sunnyside, and we're just here to share information and answer questions. We don't have any business to the council except sharing information. Then we'll kind of trade off in terms of answering questions and giving the presentation. So to start with, I guess I could do it. But Pacific Ag pioneering solutions that create value and sustainability through agriculture. That is the mission statement for Pacific Ag, which is the parent company. So we really view in a long term that ability to use agriculture to advance both income generation and sustainability. We think it's crucial in the face of climate change that agriculture it's a huge opportunity for agriculture and for the communities that depend on agriculture to flourish during this time of innovation. So next slide, please. So who is Pacific Ag? Well, Pacific Ag is the company founded in Hermiston, Oregon. It's 26 years old. It's what we do is we aggregate crop residue around the country. So we started in this region, again, 26 years ago. We've got deep roots, multi-generations in agriculture in this region. We've been actually working in the Sunnyside area in Yakima Valley for probably 20 years, harvesting crop residue and hay and supplying that to local dairies and feedlots. But we have offices now across the country. We have in the upper Midwest, the High Plains region, and in our Atlantic office in North Carolina, all focused around bringing equipment and harvesting the residue once the grain crop has been harvested. So if you can imagine, you've got a corn crop, the farmer comes in with a combine, he leaves with only the grain. We come in and take what's left, 30 to 50% of the leaves, the cob, the stalk. So if you're a farmer with 200 bushel corn, for example, that means there's probably 5 tons of residue left on the field. And we come in and take a portion of that, and that's our product. And that then becomes an item on our balance sheet that we ship and sell to dairies and feedlots, animal populations. We export some of this material to Japan and Korea and the Middle East. We also sell it to mushroom plants, which use it to make compost to grow mushrooms. So that's commonly wheat straw. And so, I've been with the company 14 years. We have, Kips, I think 12 years, 13 years. Yeah. We don't look that old, but we really are. We're a private company. We work with over 1,000 growers across the country. We sell to nearly 300 feedlots and dairies, and you can add a half a dozen mushroom plants around the country. I mean, in Ontario, British Columbia, Texas, Florida, Pennsylvania, California, we're shipping this product all around. We're harvesting all around. You can see from the presentation, the blue states are where we're actually operating equipment. The light blue states are those in which we are shipping product in addition to that local area. So from a humble origins 26 years ago in Hermiston, Oregon, we've grown into being the largest company doing what we do in North America. About 4 years ago, we began to be a supplier of crop residue to renewable natural gas plants, two in particular, and began to learn about that industry, about converting ag waste streams into a biofuel, and realize that our relationships with agricultural communities, which goes so deep, and our access to feedstock was such a critical advantage that we then began to add talented people in areas that we didn't have expertise. And so we forwardly integrated into a company to start a company called Pacific Ag Renewables that would look at developing, building and operating these plants. And our first project was going to be in essentially our backyard, which was Sunnyside, where we had been harvesting crop residue and interacting with dairies and feedlots for decades. And so this is our first one, but it's so important because these are our customers. This is our backyard. And so we're very proud of this project. We're really excited to be here. We're not big ag. We're not big oil. In fact, we're probably small ag, technically speaking. And just that's who we are. And that's how we want to make sure we're communicating that to the council and to the community at large. If you could go to the next slide. So we're going to talk a little bit about the next slide, please, is just anaerobic digestion, which is the core technology at work. And so when you think about organic waste streams, and I mean organic versus inorganic, not like certified organic, but organic waste streams, one of the most common technologies for processing organic waste streams is anaerobic digesters. I mean, any wastewater treatment plant is using anaerobic digestion as their core technology. So there are thousands of them in communities all over the world. There's 20,000 digesters operating today globally. There are probably 10,000 in Europe alone, 24,000 in the US, and it's growing really quickly because many in the economy are realizing that our waste streams are a rich resource that we need to transform into value. And that's what this project is all about. Turning an excess of manure, turning crop residue into a biofuel and into a organic fertilizer that can be reapplied to the region. So that's just a big part of it. We are focusing heavily on the technology partner we're using is a German company that has, I think, 350 operating plants. Yeah. They own 20 themselves. So we went to the heart of where the digestion industry was most robust. And we basically searched the world for the right partner, even though there is a simple aspect to this, which is essentially anaerobic digestion in the form we're going to be practicing that is just a natural process where where the microbes and the bacteria are already present in the material itself. And so you're essentially creating giant vessels in which you can optimally let nature do what it does in an optimal setting. So you're creating the right temperature, the right flow of material, the right residence time for nature to do what it naturally does, which is decompose these volatile solids, which are like carbohydrates, and produce, in this case, CO2 and methane. So it's again, taking what happens in nature, taking what happens in wastewater treatment plants around the country and putting it into large vessels at a large scale and professionalizing it and industrializing it. And in doing so, we are, and Kip will talk more about this, we are diverting the methane that would otherwise be bubbling up into a dairy lagoon and creating emissions and creating odor. And we're capturing that before it goes to the lagoon in sealed tankers that come right into our vessels, into our large digesters. So what once was exposed to both odor and to the atmosphere is now being captured and values being created from it.
Yeah. You go to the next slide. So these are some of the reasons we feel that AD is positive for the community, whether it's this community or any of the others across the US and world that are employing this technology. As Harrison has talked about, we're treating and recycling organic wastes. Part of that is reduction of odor, which again, we'll get into a little bit further into the presentation. And then also improving the application of a natural fertilizer. So as you all know, living in the Sunnyside Valley, manure is spread on fields. Once manure comes through our anaerobic digestion process, we will have 3 distinct streams that come out of the back end, and the constituents, nutrient constituents in those materials coming out will have a much better profile of what they are and allow for better application to crop ground in the area. These next numbers are from a study that was done by the YCDA. So Sunnyside RNG will create 56 direct and indirect local jobs. Again, we will be reducing local manure odor and improving the community well-being. Something we'll talk about a little bit more in the next slide is the support of long-term support and sustainability of the vital local industry. The dairy industry in the region is obviously a large employer, and we feel this project will bring long-term support and sustainability to that industry. And the local economic benefits are estimated to be about $12 million annually. And again, that's from the YCDA report. So AD is positive for the local dairy industry, reduces manure management costs. So by hauling manure to this plant, which the plant will own and operate all the trucks, we will be reducing the number of loads that is going out to local fields, and those will be in sealed tanker containers, very similar to a milk truck. So once the manure enters that truck on the dairy, it will never be exposed to the air again. So again, that's part of the odor reduction. Improved nutrient management, which I spoke to a little bit, but that fertility profile will be better known with less variability than the current undigested manures, which is, again, a responsible use that's replacing synthetic fertilizer use. Additional revenue source. So that stable source of revenue will aid the dairy business locally. And that will come from the payment that we are giving each dairy for their manure that's delivered to the facility, as well as reduced manure management costs. Again, improving the hauling of the manure will be on sealed tankers, like I said, very similar to a milk truck. There's a little video in here if we have the ability to watch it, which you'll see some of those practices being carried out. And the other thing that's very different about our project, or we feel, is so the community digester model. So a hub and spoke, as we call it. So a main plant with lots of spokes and dairies hauling to that, is that we can utilize dairy manure from many small dairies rather than large dairies. So the standard model across the US is to go onto a large, 5,000 cow plus dairy and put the digester on site. We feel there's risk in that model, and it also does not allow for small dairies to be involved. This model does, which we feel is a strong upside. So if you go to the next slide. So I don't know if we have we do. So this is, and I don't know that you necessarily need the sound, but this is a project that is very similar to what you will see. Yeah.
Hit the skip.
This is in Brown County, Wisconsin. This is a facility we have been to a lot. So there's two things I want to point out. This here is an open lagoon, which you will not see at our facility here. So there's a couple main differences. That's one. And then also when you see a truck being filled later, there's some other differences. But we felt like this was important to visualize. There's been some renderings put out in the community, but this is the other spot. So this is not a practice that will be used here. This is so sealed containers. Again, you won't have open lagoons like this, but this gives you some idea. This is about 16 tanks, which is very similar to the size that we will be here. So I'll let you watch.
40% of the volume, which goes back into the local watershed, which is the East River here. To create those products, we bring manure into the receiving building where it starts the process. We pump the raw manure into the 16 digesters. Each digester is 1.3 million gallons. And inside the anaerobic digester, we heat it to 100 degrees. We mix it under those conditions. It's in there for about 3 weeks. And we produce biogas. Biogas is mainly methane. And we scrub out the non-methane components of the gas so that it's almost 100% methane. At that point, it's the same quality, or if not better, than the natural gas in the natural gas pipeline. Once we pump it into the natural gas pipeline, it can go to customers to use as vehicle fuel. After the manure has been in the digesters for those 3 weeks, we take it out, and that product, we squeeze the fiber from the liquid. The fiber is then dried, and that's what produces the bedding that gets hauled back to dairy farms. The pressate from that process goes to a further water treatment process, where we essentially have several stages of filtration that continue to remove the suspended solids, then the dissolved solids, leaving us with the clean water that can either be discharged to the river or sent back to the two local dairies for land application. DC Organics started being developed as a concept or an idea back in 2017. Brown County had a study on how to better handle manure and allow farmers to be more profitable and more environmentally friendly long-term. So we responded to that RFP, and some of our studies are what actually led to this project. The construction began about 1.5 years ago. And after about 1 year of construction, we started pumping manure and filling digesters. And here we are about 1.5 years later, and we are making biogas and finishing the facility. DC Organics is unique in its size and number of farms. So with the 11 participating farms, we are utilizing practices that we've done on smaller projects in the past. We are just doing it at a much greater scale. This project was unique in what the farmers were trying to achieve. They didn't just want a profit share or a share in the gas sales. They wanted to help solve manure problems. They were looking for more tools to be better stewards of their manure, and this project offered them a solution to that problem.
So as you can see, this is going on across the country. That's a really good example of what we're doing here. It's been employed by many other areas in the US and, as Harrison said, across the world, which we've been to a lot of these facilities, both in North America and in Europe. And we feel it's a very safe, environmentally friendly process. So some of the misconceptions that we have heard is increased traffic. So there will be trucks on the road. We are simply displacing trucks that are already on the road today, or changing locations. So this manure is being hauled today, as you all know, to various locations across the valley. It will now come to the port facility. That increased traffic is only 1% to 2% on the surrounding roads. So we had a third-party traffic study done, which is a part of our SEPA application, which is a public document which you can all review. Another question that we have gotten a lot of is high pressure tanks and explosion hazards. So there are no high pressure tanks on this facility. The tanks that you saw there are double membrane soft roof tanks, and they have a fan that keeps a certain amount of pressure on that to keep the bubble shape, if you will. But there are no high pressure tanks, and there's no explosion hazards, and there's lots and lots of safety protocols, again, from plants in the US as well as all across Europe. And it's a very safe and proven practice. Odor, it will absolutely reduce the odor. Again, as Harrison said, so the whole idea is to capture the methane, not let it, bubble up through anaerobic digestion in a dairy lagoon today. So again, when we pick up dairy manure at the farms, it will be in a sealed tanker. It will be in sealed tanks and pits all the way through the process at the facility, so that it will no longer be exposed to the air. And then just general safety concerns. I spoke to that a little bit, but it's a robust global industry. We have, some of the best partners in the world from an engineering perspective and equipment supply perspective that have years and years and years of history. And very much understand the best practices for both safety and operations of these facilities.
And I would just say, given the importance of the dairy industry and the significance of Sunnyside, like, why shouldn't Sunnyside get the benefit of a project like this? This is, we were so excited when we began to do our own homework and realized, like, this is such a great location. We understand this area well. We have so many industry partners. The feedstock is here. The need to reduce odors, to manage manure more effectively is here. It just feels like a great fit. And so we're really delighted to be here and share this information with you all.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, gentlemen. Council members, questions or comments for our Pacific Ag Renewables people? Mr. Beeler.
You get rid of the H2O at the end process? The water?
H2O or S2?
The water.
Oh.
So there's a recirculation. There's some amount of recirculation in the cleaning. As you saw in the video, there is the opportunity potentially to clean that water to a state to be released under an NPDES permit. That is not in the current plan here. A lot of that water will go back to dairies for irrigation and other applications, but some amount will be recirculated for process use in the plant.
Further questions? Mr. Deputy Mayor.
Is there any concern for diseases, like, to be transported from one farm to another?
No, because when it's heated to a point in the process that it's sterilized at the end. So it's not certified compost when it comes out, but it can be, one turn or one step away from a certified compost, which alleviates the issues of, biosecurity issues from dairy to dairy.
So, for example, the fiber digested, you saw that the fiber was separated from the liquid in the video. That is then likely to go back and be composted for another 4 months before it's landed.
Yep.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor.
Ms. Frausto. I'm sorry.
Oh, I think that was Councilor Hart on the
Ms.
line.
Frausto, and then Councilor Hart will be after you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Hang tight, Julia. I have a few questions, so I'll just go down my list. How many of these have been developed across the country?
There's about
hundreds.
There's about 2,400 operating in the US. The Port of Sunnyside has one. I believe it's been in operation for 13 or 14 years. Obviously that's a different style, but there's about 2,400 across the US.
But it is a very fast growing industry used to create, biomethane for various applications. Because if you think, renewable natural gas is just molecularly identical to natural gas. So it's just like what you have in your home or similar to propane in terms of heat and source. And so it can transport. So what we're doing is once we produce it, we're cleaning the any impurities out of it to meet the pipeline specification, and we're injecting it into the interstate pipeline. And what that means is that you've got this vast interstate pipeline that goes all around the country. And so we can sell it virtually anywhere. And so what renewable natural gas, though, is not a fossil fuel. It's made from terrestrial waste. So in the case of these feedstocks, it's creating a negative carbon intensity gas. So as a tool for decarbonization, if you're an industry, if you're a utility, if you have a fleet of trucks where you want to put compressed natural gas in it and lower the overall carbon emissions of your transportation fleet, for example, then you would be buying this product because you can put it just like in natural gas, except your carbon footprint drops dramatically because of the carbon intensity of this product is so low. It's well below zero. Because, and the reason this is in the carbon accounting is that because the methane that dairy manure was going into the lagoon and producing methane, we're capturing that before it can do that. So it's creating essentially a negative carbon intensity around that feedstock. And so many people view renewable natural gas is, they call it like the Swiss Army knife of decarbonization, because you can inject it in the pipeline and go all to these to different markets, which are rapidly growing because industries, companies, utilities, fleets, they all are now mandated and or have committed to reducing their carbon footprint. And so that's why renewable natural gas is a growing industry around the country. Number one, because you have so many waste streams that are underutilized. And two, you have a need to decarbonize so many aspects of our economy. So this is just a very fast growing industry. There's probably 100 of these projects under construction right now around the country.
Okay. I remember going to the listening session. I think it was a community listening session back in November. I think you were there. I don't remember if you were there or not, but nice to meet you. I think you all pointed out that this would be the biggest in the country. Is that correct?
We'll see when it's built. We'll have to look around, but it's certainly one of the larger ag waste digesters. But it'll be very similar to the one you just saw in the video. We have 15 of these big digester units that hold 1.6 million gallons. They have 16 that hold 1.3. So,
okay,
it's splitting hairs as to say which one's bigger. But what you're also seeing is that projects are getting larger, more professionalized, more industrial. Like many industries, they started as an on-farm application. How do we manage our waste? Well, let's put a digester. It's a natural process. But then as this becomes a more significant opportunity, then you're just like what we're doing. We're not on a dairy. We're bringing the manure to a central location. That allows us to build a bigger facility. It allows us to professionalize the management and operation. It allows us to add the latest technologies. And if we want to add things 2 years from now, we're not encumbered by co-locating with another business, right? So this just lets us kind of step into where this industry is going as a large and professional industry.
Okay, that leads into my next question. Looking at the video, I see the one in Wisconsin. I don't see many houses around that area. And I remember that listening session, a lot of our community members were pretty concerned because I don't know if I'm sure you've been out to that area. There's homes within 300 feet. So our community members are concerned about possible explosions. They're concerned about odor. They're concerned about what this is gonna do to the environment. I know that I'm hearing that there is a SEPA. There's not a SEPA review. I haven't actually read thoroughly through that SEPA review, so I would love to get it sent to me if possible. But in that SEPA, there's risks to any project that anyone constructs, right? Or anyone develops. Have And I know another of the concerns of our community members is that these risks hadn't been communicated. And actually this project alone hadn't been communicated out very well, especially to the neighboring houses and homes where this will be built. So again, looking at that video, it doesn't seem like there's neighboring homes. And this is going to be built right on Mapton, Sunnyside Mapton Highway. First, what are the risks and what would you tell our community members? Some that I know are here in the audience today of this is going to be built right in your backyard, but have no fear, your property value will not go down. There's no risks to explosion. I mean, what could we tell our community members now that hold these concerns?
I talked to some of those community members at that meeting.
Okay.
I mean, I have great empathy for the situation. I mean, we're an applicant for an industrial project and to go into an industrial zoned location, which is the Port of Sunnyside. So that's like 500 acres that ideally to create economic growth in the community, you'll have industry there. So if it's not us, it may be someone else across the street. So this is sort of the place where industrial development has been focused for Sunnyside, and that's why we're there.
Gotcha. Thank you for that. So, and maybe there's a conversation that I have then for previous council members and our economic and development director here. Why that specific location?
Because it's zoned heavy industrial, or it's zoned industrial for the use. We have a use-based code. It's a permitted use in that zone.
Correct. And then just, I mean, and then it goes back to just because something is zoned but just because something is law doesn't make it right, right? But
they also have the right to apply for a use in a permitted zone per the state and local statute. And that's what happened.
Correct. Yeah. Okay. Thank you for that. And I'm just trying to be the voice of many community members that have been concerned. I know when this listening session happened, many of of our council wasn't there. A lot of our staff wasn't there. So I think, this information is great. Renewable energy, right? We need to invest in it in the future of our planet. But these are just some of the questions that I have been hearing from a lot of our constituents, a lot of our community members, right? Why that location, right? Why behind my backyard? And what is that going to do in terms of risk, right? So that's also a huge part of the city. I think it's a huge responsibility of us to communicate out as well.
The application was actually, it was sent, our local statute is 300 feet. We did several noticing periods. We did several noticing periods. We did issue an MDNS. So we did follow all state statutes to the fullest of the law. And then there's also another thing that no zoning ordinance in the entire country takes into account, and that is property values. We do not weigh in on property values. We did not measure a project. We planning departments across the country regularly do not take into account what one project will do to a property value of another. But if you want to think about property values in terms of development versus vacant parcel, that this is going to be a developed parcel, and that will add value to that parcel. It just will, being a developed parcel. So if you want to look at it that way, you certainly can, but we do not take into account. The Port of Sunnyside has a study on these 500 acres that is going to be an industrial park at some point in the future. And this project just happens to be one of the first people to apply for a project in that park.
Go ahead.
I
was just going to say one other thing I'd like to mention is the SEEP application has been talked about. So in hearing concerns from the community, we also submitted an addendum to that, which is available on your city website, that has a tremendous amount more information. So we're trying to be visible in the community, obviously being here tonight and having other sessions with entities around town. And we would happily meet with anybody at any time. I'm here all the time. I don't live here, but I'm here a lot.
You live nearby.
And like I said, we're excited to meet and talk about this with anybody who's interested.
And just to reiterate, like, we saw many of you at the Cinco de Mayo event. We will come and talk to community groups. We're really, and I have to say, we didn't do this from the beginning of this project because it was a concept. Now we are at a place where this is a mature project. We can talk about the details about it. So it's really, we're just not a company that waves a lot of flags until we have something concrete to talk about. And that's why we're here. And we'll be available to anyone in any group. And, we're just really excited to talk about this. We think it's a great project. And again, we participated in the SEPA project. That process, that is really the screening of the environmental impacts. That designation has been provided to us. Now we're moving to the next phases of permitting. And we're also, because we're sensitive to the fact that there are houses across the road and they're relatively close by, we've got a whole landscaping and berming plan to go on the outside to do them as best we can to be sensitive to the appearances from the road and across. So we want to do what we can. However, we're going where the city wants us to go, which is an area that's zoned for this purpose.
Thank you. Ms. Hart, your question or
Couple of
comment?
questions that I just involve this particular project on the 500 acres of Port District land that you're using for this will bring about, what do you anticipate the return to the city in terms of jobs and revenue? City
So
taxes.
the YCDA report that I referenced earlier is 56 direct and indirect jobs to the local community in about a $12 million impact annually.
And we're anticipating today a $2 million total payroll.
Yeah.
So these will be well-paying jobs as well.
Yeah.
In addition to the number, and there'll also be additional truck driving jobs, which aren't included in that number.
That's
Ms. Vasquez?
Yeah, so I got a list here of some questions from Friends of Toppenish Creek, and the first one actually caught my attention, so I'll ask it. And it says, Pacific Ag could potentially make millions of dollars marketing biomethane under Washington's renewable fuel program. Will these profits be spent in Sunnyside, or will the profits go to investors from outside the area? And there's another following question, and it says, will these profits be taxed in Sunnyside or elsewhere?
Yeah, I mean, we're gonna have a tax obligation just like any industry here.
Mhm.
Yeah, and so we hope that we have a high revenue. I mean, we're spending $140 million on this facility, so it needs to be sustaining for the long-term financially. So yes, we will be, having millions of dollars of revenue. I mean, that's the whole plan, right?
Yes, I would also like to share that I was actually very surprised but pleased to see you, Harrison, at Sunnyside United Unidos. He caught me by surprise and he was there. He actually showed us this YouTube video and had a whole presentation for all of the community members there, and a lot of people had questions and he took his time and answered a lot of questions. So I'm very pleased with that. And I just want to say thank you for constantly answering. I know we've talked and discussed about twice already, and every time I've asked you questions, you've been very transparent. So I just want to say thank you for that. And thank you for showing up.
Continue to do it. And if there's something we can't answer, we don't have it, we'll get back to you. So.
Further questions? So I just have a couple of comments. I've been in Sunnyside a couple of years. And I do remember that on the site where you're hoping to build your plant, there was a small dairy at one time, and it was not the cleanest dairy that I've ever seen. And there was a fair amount of odor and unpleasantness associated with the place. And so I cannot imagine that your plant would be stronger in odor than what that place was, especially in its later years when it was fairly run down and neglected. Also, I know people who own property nearby across the road to the east, and I know they are dairy farmers, and I know they apply a fair amount of manure on the ground every spring once the ground thaws. If that manure were to go to your plant, that would eliminate the odor problem from that neighborhood as well, correct? Okay, so there's a potential upside. And I do have, in full disclosure, I have many friends in the dairy industry in the Valley. With a name like Broersma, you have to know that I have the Dutch and Frisian background and very I'm not related to any of them, but I know many of them. I've known many of them most of my life. I have family members in other areas who are in the dairy industry, both in the US and soon to be Canada. And yeah, I've been watching an RNG plant being built on site on a dairy in California for the last couple of years, and that plant is built reasonably close to a house. I mean, it's just upwind from it. And they don't seem to have any concern about that there. What I don't like about that project is they will be trucking the final product to a site for it to be injected into the natural gas lines, as opposed to it being right there on site, which is what I like about this particular site that you're at. You are in a zoned industrial area. It has been zoned for industry for 50 years. I remember the first time we met, and you were telling me that you had a site that you liked on the west side of Sunnyside. And I was not a huge fan of that site, and apparently other people talked to you as well about that, and we got you into the port, which I'm quite pleased with. I think it's a better alternative, and because of that injection point in there, I think that reduces a lot of risk about taking a truck full of brand new methane down the highway to an injection site. So that solves a lot of the problems there. In whatever we can do to reduce the dairy smell problem, the manure waste problem, because it can be pumped out of the lagoon all year long, whereas in the wintertime, if it's going to be pumped on a field, it's illegal to pump it on a frozen ground. So I think this helps solve a lot of problems. My concern is that this is a new type of project for you guys, to make sure that every single safety protocol is followed, and redundancy and more redundancy, because we don't want to see this sort of stuff leaking out into the air. We don't want any kinds of issues. Methane is explosive, as is gasoline and natural gas and other things that we process. And so we want to keep that sort of stuff from happening. But I am thankful for your presentation. Thank you for that. And I don't know if council has any more questions or comments. Ms. Vasquez.
So I have one last question. In the video, you mentioned that the lagoons wouldn't be opened as we saw on there. So how will it be here in Sunnyside?
So there, I don't know. Well, if you look at the SEPA application, you'll see a layout, and there's 5 different individual lines of tanks at this plant, proposed site. There's offload locations, which are cam lock pipes from the trucks to a pit that is covered. So there's a pit in ground, but it's covered, and it has constant air circulation with a scrubber filter on it, which removes obviously any odor that comes out. So there's no open pits. And then from there, that's about one tanker load between 5,500 and 7,000 gallons in the pit, and then it goes directly into the tanks. So that's really just a holding location to be pumped into the tank. So it's all sealed.
So there is a lagoon on the site, but it is covered, and it's not for manure, it's for the digestate, which comes out, but everything is sealed.
Yeah.
Because partially it's that you don't want to lose any of the methane because it has value. So that's one of the reasons why you don't have it exposed, but also because of odor and other things.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Deputy Mayor.
I just want to thank both of you for coming, and being transparent and answering all these questions. It definitely helps. I know there's probably plenty more questions that a lot of people have, but I think this is great. I mean, years ago we paid millions of dollars to get rid of feedlot just west of here, and now we have a company wanting to invest all these millions of dollars to Sunnyside to get rid of that smell. Potentially, they will get rid of it. And also help with the contamination of the groundwater. I know that, the manure being in the lagoons, it's not a good thing. A lot of organizations have fought years to, get rid of those lagoons. And now you guys are here, potentially getting rid of them. So I want to thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah,
Thanks
thank
a lot.
you.
All right, and thank you. All right, moving on. We are still on item B. So we've been at this for an hour and a half. So we're going to try to cover some ground here. So proclamations, we have a number of them tonight, and we need to vote on those. First one is Mental Health Awareness Month. Approve a resolution proclaiming May as Mental Health Awareness Month. What is the desire of council on this item?
Move to approve.
I second.
All right, we've got a motion by Deputy Mayor, second by Councilor Frausto to approve the resolution proclaiming May as Mental Health Awareness Month. Debate on this item?
Mr. Mayor?
Ms. Hart.
I would like to make a suggestion to amend the motion to accept all of the proclamations as presented tonight, as opposed to doing each one individually. I think that they're all valid proclamations, and it would be a little bit of, maybe not much of a time saver, but if we could just adopt them all at the same time. If you read them off and then we just adopt them all at the same time.
Mr.
Does that
Deputy
make
Mayor, are
sense?
you amenable to that amendment to your motion?
That'll be fine.
Okay, Ms. Frausto, since you are the second. Okay, then I will read each of these and the motion will apply to each of those and we will vote on that afterwards. First of all, as I said, approve a resolution proclaiming May as Mental Health Awareness Month. Second, approve a resolution proclaiming May 4, 2024 as International Firefighters Day. Third, approve a resolution proclaiming May 5 through 11, 2024 as Municipal Clerks Week. And finally, approve a resolution proclaiming May 12 through 18, 2024 as National Police Week. Okay, so the motion covers all of those, sir?
Move to approve.
All right.
I second.
All right, so we've got a motion by Deputy Mayor Galvan, a second by Councilor Frausto to approve all of the proclamations. Is there debate on this item? All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. I too vote aye. Motion carries. That was a good idea, Ms. Hart. I will now read the proclamations. First one, Mental Health Awareness Month. Whereas mental health is crucial for everyone's overall health and well-being, and whereas all citizens face moments of difficulties and stress in their lives, mental health illnesses are real and prevalent in our nation. And whereas prevention is an efficient way to lessen the burden of mental health illness, and whereas there is an extensive amount of research that supports specific approaches that all citizens may utilize to better manage issues and maintain their health and well-being, and whereas with early and appropriate treatment, individuals with mental health problems can recover and enjoy full productive lives, and whereas every person in our community shares the burden and has a responsibility to promote mental wellness and support prevention efforts. And now, therefore, I, Dean Broersma, Mayor of the City of Sunnyside, Washington, by virtue of the authority vested in me by the laws of the state of Washington and on behalf of the City Council, do hereby proclaim May 2024 as Mental Health Awareness Month and encourage residents to come together and break the silence to heal the mind. In testimony whereof I have hereunto set my hand and caused the seal of the City of Sunnyside to be affixed, done at the City of Sunnyside this 13th day of May in the year 2024. Second, International Firefighters Day. Whereas International Firefighters Day is observed each year on May 4 to honor and remember past firefighters who have lost their lives while serving their communities, to express gratitude to those who have served in this line of work, and to show support and appreciation for those who presently serve. And whereas firefighters follow a long line of traditional and honor that inspires them to help colleagues, neighbors, and strangers alike. And whereas at a moment's notice, firefighters are quick to respond to uncertain situations, to mitigate danger, and combat the threat of destructive fire in order to protect individuals, families, and the economic well-being of our community. And whereas the demands of firefighting are accompanied by both personal and physical tolls that all firefighters knowingly accept while risking their lives to protect the lives of others. Now, therefore, I, Dean Broersma, Mayor of the City of Sunnyside, Washington, by virtue of the authority vested in me by the laws of the state of Washington, and on behalf of the City Council, do hereby proclaim May 4, 2024 as International Firefighters Day, and promote the recognition of our firefighting and EMS staff for their continuous dedication to our citizens and community throughout the year, and remembering past firefighters who dedicated their lives to preserve our safety. Testimony whereof I have hereunto set my hand and caused the seal of the City of Sunnyside to be affixed. Then at the City of Sunnyside this 13th day of May in the year 2024. As I sign, my signature gets progressively worse. Makes me feel kind of bad. The third one, Municipal Clerks Week. Whereas the office of the municipal clerk, a time-honored and vital part of local government, exists throughout the world. And whereas the office of the municipal clerk is the oldest among public servants, and whereas the office of the municipal clerk provides the professional link between citizens, the local governing bodies, and agencies of governments at other levels, and whereas the municipal clerks have pledged to be ever mindful of their neutrality and impartiality, rendering equal service to all, while serving as the information center on functions of local government and community. And whereas municipal clerks continually strive to improve the administrative administration of the affairs through participation in education, programs, seminars, workshops, and annual meetings of their state, provincial, county, and international professional organizations. Now therefore, I, Dean Broersma, Mayor of the City of Sunnyside, Washington, by virtue of the authority vested in me by the laws of the state of Washington and on behalf of the City Council, do hereby proclaim May 5 through 11, 2024 as Municipal Clerks Week. And I further extend appreciation to municipal clerks past and present for their vital services they perform and their exemplary dedication to our community. Testimony whereof I have hereunto set my hand and caused the seal of the City of Sunnyside to be affixed, done at the City of Sunnyside this 13th day of May in the year 2024. Get there. And finally, National Police Week. Whereas National Police Week in America was created in 1962 to honor and recognize the sacrifice and contributions made by police officers in communities both large and small through a proclamation issued by then President John F. Kennedy. And whereas our community will always appreciate and commend the risks police officers take every day to ensure our community laws are properly enforced and that public safety is ensured. And whereas now more than ever, the community also appreciated and encourages the community involvement facilitated by our police officers to both better serve and instill mutual trust, camaraderie, and positive relationships among our increasingly diverse population in Sunnyside. And whereas police engage with and serve the public in the most varied and wide-ranging manner, and their efforts do not go unnoticed. Now therefore, I, Dean Broersma, Mayor of the City of Sunnyside, Washington, by virtue of the authority vested in me by the laws of the state of Washington, and on behalf of the City Council, do hereby proclaim May 12 through 18, 2024 as National Police Week, and encourage residents to join the city in recognition of services, sacrifices, and efforts the Sunnyside Police Department makes to better serve the community. In testimony whereof I have hereunto set my hand and caused the seal of the City of Sunnyside to be affixed, done at the City of Sunnyside this 13th day of May in the year 2024. All right. Item G. Ecology wastewater agreement. Approve a resolution authorizing the interim city manager to execute ecology stormwater agreement number WQC-2024-SUNNYS-00155. Mr. City Manager.
I'll turn this over to Mr. Sanchez and Ms. Ray from HLA.
Mr. Sanchez.
I will turn it over to Stephanie Ray with HLA.
Members of council, mayor, city manager, public works director, thank you for having me here tonight. The city of Sunnyside has been awarded funding through Department of Ecology for wastewater treatment improvements. And please note the recommendation is to approve the wastewater agreement with Department of Ecology in lieu of stormwater agreement. The agreement is to do design for replacement of the PW pipe lift station and the 9th and Lincoln lift station, along with several wastewater treatment plant improvements have been planned over the last 10 years. With this agreement, the city would receive approximately $1 million. 50% of it is a forgivable principal. The remaining 50% is a low interest loan. The loan terms are 20-year at 1.2%. This agreement was budgeted back in 2022, and we've been delayed waiting for the ecology agreement to come out. And I'd be happy to answer any questions that council may have.
Council members, questions for Ms. Ray? Mr. Deputy Mayor.
How many total lift stations do we have in Sunnyside? Do we know?
Oh, gosh.
We have about 18.
18. And the other ones are doing good right now at this time. Like major maintenance, these two.
Yeah, there are a few that are in our general sewer plan that are scheduled also as far as we would need to upsize them at some point.
Okay, thank you.
Further questions? Hearing none, what is the desire of council on this item?
Move to approve.
I second.
All right, we have a motion by Deputy Mayor, second by Councilor Vasquez to approve the resolution authorizing interim city manager to execute ecology stormwater agreement number WQC-2024-SUNNYS-00155. Debate on this item. Hearing none, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, no. I too vote aye. Motion passes. Item H, wastewater utility improvement HLA task order. Approve a resolution authorizing the interim city manager to execute a task order with HLA Engineering and Land Surveying Incorporated to complete the tasks identified in the Ecology Stormwater Agreement number WQC 2024 SUNNYS 00155. Mr. City Manager.
I'll again turn this over to Ms. Ray and Mr. Sanchez.
Thank you. I will turn it over to Stephanie with HLA.
Council, Mayor, City Manager, Public Works Director, thank you again. For the last item, we are allowing the city manager to execute the agreement with Ecology. This item is to execute our task order to complete those design improvements listed in the agreement, which is the design of the 9th and Lincoln lift station, the PW pipe lift station, and then also the wastewater treatment plant improvements. And just to clarify, at the wastewater treatment plant, it includes a new headworks, a new storage building, control upgrades, a replacement of the UV disinfection system, and electrical upgrades, all to meet energy code. These are maintenance items. They don't increase the capacity of the wastewater treatment plant.
Council members, questions or comments? Hearing none, what is the desire of council on this item?
Move to approve.
We did it together, so.
Yeah, I know.
I'll second.
Okay, we'll give that motion to Ms. Hart. Second to the deputy mayor to approve the resolution authorizing interim city manager to execute a task order with HLA Engineering and Land Surveying Incorporated to complete the task identified in the Ecology Stormwater Agreement number WQC 2024 SUNNYS 00155. I am glad that's the last time I have to read that one. Debate on this item. Hearing none, all in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. I too vote aye. Motion carries. Item I, Dayton Drive Retaining Wall HLA Task Order. Approve a resolution authorizing the interim city manager to execute a task order with HLA Engineering and Land Surveying to complete contract documents to replace an existing Dayton Drive retaining wall and provide construction services after a contractor is selected. Mr. City Manager.
Ms. Ray with HLA.
City Manager, Mayor, members of council, thank you again. So as we reviewed this in the past study session right before this meeting, so this is a task order with us to design and provide construction admin for the replacement of a retaining wall. We have conducted topographic survey on it. We have looked at the right of way, and the wall is within existing right of way. Has been known to have some cracking and heaving for quite some time. And our goal is to design a replacement wall that will be shorter, moved out closer to the roadway, and to then take out what you see here is a failure. And as part of that, there is a fire hydrant and a storm drainage system that has to get relocated as well. So our goal right now is to do the design work so that we can develop the engineer's estimate, in which we'll take that back to council to give you a probable cost of the replacement of the wall. So this item is not budgeted, but the funding would come out of both the street and the REIT funds. Happy to answer any questions you may have.
Council, questions or comments? Mr. Deputy Mayor.
So the $77,000 is just for the cost of the design for the engineering?
No, it's we have approximately 26,000 in design. And that's to supplement the survey that we already did under general services to try to understand if this was a public wall or a private wall. And then the construction engineering is 52,000. So that would not come into play until a contractor is selected. The idea of presenting you with all the upfront costs is that if there was an opportunity for, say, an insurance, we wanted to make sure that all of those costs were identified ahead of time, and then come back to you then with the actual replacement wall cost. So what we would be doing at this point is solely just 1.0, which is design engineering, to get you an actual engineering cost for that wall.
So later on, we'll know the cost of the wall.
Correct. Our goal is to have everything done this year. So we really don't want that wall to collapse. If it does, it will collapse in the roadway. So
if it does collapse, wouldn't the insurance to the home cover it?
No, because it's a public wall.
That's right away. We go to the
Further questions or comments? Hearing none, what is the desire of council on this item?
Move to approve.
Second.
All right, we got a motion from Counselor Beeler, second from Counselor Vasquez. Sorry, Ms. Hart, he spoke over you.
Good for you.
To approve the resolution authorizing interim city manager to execute a task order with HLA Engineering and Land Surveying Incorporated to complete contract documents to replace the existing Dayton Drive retaining wall and provide construction services after a contractor is selected. Debate on this item. Hearing none, all in favor of this motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. I too vote aye, motion passes. Item J. So for the members of the audience, you know that we've had several of our boards and commissions seats that have been vacated, and we've asked those who wish to continue serving that they can either reapply for the position or allow someone else to take their spot. We've had several who have reapplied, and so this evening we're going to talk about a number of those. So that's what we're going to be talking about for the next few items. First one is our Lodging Tax Advisory Committee, the LTAC appointment. And we've had Mr. Tom Denley on our Lodging Tax Committee for many years. He works with the Best Western Hotel here in Sunnyside, but also up and down the valley, Union Gap, Zilla, Prosser, and I think he's got some to do in Walla Walla, if I remember correctly, or Clarkston. I can't remember exactly. Anyways, very knowledgeable. He also is one of those individuals who collects the tax, which under state law, we have to have two individuals who collect tax and two individuals who use the tax. So council members, is there any objection to reappointing Mr. Denley to the seat? Now, do we need to, okay, you have here to make a motion and vote on this. Do we really need to do that?
No, do you just?
Okay, so I think so. If there's no objection, you guys okay with no objection? Okay.
No objection.
Council approval to go ahead with the no objection. Our legal advice is not shaking his head wildly no that we can't do it.
These are done by mayoral appointment unless there's objection by the council.
Right. Usually that's what, but Sunnyside has changed that in the last year to where we need to do that with a committee. So I just wanted to make sure I'm not breaking any rules.
Legal as of now.
Okay, thank you, sir. All right, so if there's no objection, Mr. Tom Denley will be reappointed to his seat. All right, so done. Municipal Airport Advisory Board appointment. Approve the reappointing of Mr. Larry Dolan to the Municipal Airport Advisory Board. Mr. Dolan has also served for a number of years on the Airport Advisory Board and would like to continue doing so. Council, is there any objection to the reappointment?
No objection.
Hearing none, Mr. Dolan is also reappointed. Sunnyside's Arts Commission appointments. We have two that we've looked at. The first is Ms. Chelsea Demas, and the second is Mr. Chase Reef. Both have served on the committee before. Council, is there any objection to reappointing these two individuals?
No objection.
No. No objection. All right, then they are also reappointed. Thank you, council. We do have other applications to look through, and we are waiting for other applications to come in as well. So anybody in the community who would like to serve on some of these boards and commissions, we do still have some open seats. And I would encourage you to take a look at that and jump in where your interests lie. Item M, Sunnyside Municipal Code 2.08.020, City Council Meetings Update. Adopt an ordinance amending section 2.08.020 of the Sunnyside Municipal Code pertaining to council workshops and implementing study sessions. Bit of background, a few months ago, council has changed our format a little bit. We start our evenings out of our regular council meetings an hour earlier and conduct a study session where we go over the major issues on the agenda. This allows us to ask questions and clarify things right before the meeting. It also allows the members of the public to come and sit in and perhaps get some of their questions answered during the study session. And then during the comment period, they can ask some pertinent questions that would follow that up. What we've decided to do as council is we really like the idea. And so what the next step is we need to change the municipal code to say that we don't do our regular workshops as is in the code, but rather we do a study session that starts before our regular business meeting. So council members, what is the desire of council on this item?
I move
To approve. Okay, that's Ms. Frausto.
And I second.
All right, we got a motion by Councilor Frausto, second by Councilor Vasquez to amend section 2.08.020 of the Sunnyside Municipal Code pertaining to council workshops and implementing study sessions. Debate on this item.
Something real quick.
Go ahead.
So I think from the beginning, we had said, maybe in the regular session, they wouldn't have to repeat themselves from the work session. I think, and I was just thinking that right now when, she was repeating herself, everything all over again. So, I mean, if there's a way to kind of shorten it in the regular meeting, I mean, it's just an idea.
And I understand exactly what you're saying, sir, and it's a great idea. A lot of the things that I allow to repeat are for the benefit of the audience, so that we can make sure that those who weren't in the study session are able to keep up and know what we're talking about. The desire here is to keep everything as transparent as possible, keep everybody as informed as possible. And so I guess that's why I'm allowing that to happen, because I don't want there to be any confusion that we just passed all of this stuff without any kind of discussion.
Understand.
So. All right, further debate? All right, all in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. I too vote aye. Motion carries. Item N, update the schedule of fees and charges. Approve a resolution amending the schedule of fees and charges for 2024. Mr. City Manager.
Turn this over to Ms. Horner.
Ms. Horner.
Thank you, Mr. City Manager and Mr. Mayor. This is a small update to our schedule of fees, a clerical update to the stormwater section, an increase to our insufficient check fees based on the costs that the bank charges us, and the addition of the lifeguard certification and recertification. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Council members, questions, comments?
No questions for me.
Hearing none, what is the desire of council on this item?
Move to approve.
Second.
All right, motion by Councilor Fausto, second by Deputy Mayor to approve the resolution amending the schedule of fees and charges for 2024. Debate on this item. Hearing none, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. I too vote aye. Motion passes. Item O, Teamsters Office Clerical CBA. Approve a resolution authorizing the interim city manager to enter into an agreement with Teamsters Local 760 for the official clerical unit for 2024 through 2026. Mr. City Manager.
I'll turn this over to Ms. Horner and Ms. Navarro.
Ms. Horner.
Thank you. We have been negotiating with the Teamsters Clerical Group. Their contract expired at the end of 2023. So we did come to an agreement with them that is close to our budgeted amount. We will require a small budget amendment in the amount of just over $10,000 spread across the city's funds. This agreement provides a cost of living adjustment for 2024 in the amount of 5%, and then 3% for 2025 and 2026.
Council members, questions or comments? Just a quick question.
Mr. Deputy Mayor.
Well, do we pay our employees the back pay, like from January?
There will be salary, so any salary and overtime that was worked during that time, they will be paid that in retro.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. Fausto.
Will that be coming in as a lump sum?
Yes, it will. So on their first check following the ratification of this contract, you might see a slightly higher amount for those staff members that are affected by this agreement. That was a great question. Thank you.
Other questions?
Thank you.
One more.
Mr. Deputy Mayor.
We have other contracts still that we need to work out?
We do. We have our IAFF, International Association of Firefighters contract that is open. And we also have our Teamsters Public Works contract is still open. And both of those additionally expired at the end of 2023. So we are trying to get through those to get them to you as soon as we can.
Thank you.
Yeah. Can you, Ms. Horner, can you explain a little bit about what happens when you're still dealing with a contract that has been expired?
Absolutely. So it depends on the type of bargaining unit. For our clerical and our public works staff, basically we have to keep enforcing the contract as is in place for at least the next year. Following a year, if we're unable to reach an agreement, the city does have the ability to implement some changes while there's still negotiation going on. But basically the contract just sort of freezes, and we can't take anything away from them or do anything until we hit that year mark or give them a COLA until we have an agreement reached. For the fire and police, potentially, if they were in this situation, those are considered interest arbitration bargaining groups. So if we don't come to an agreement with those contracts, they have to go to a state arbitration through the through the Public Employee Relations Committee. And so an independent arbitrator would basically come to a decision on the terms of that contract for us and implement whatever they saw as fair for that contract.
Thank you for that explanation.
You're welcome.
Further questions or comments? Hearing none, what is the desire of council on this item?
To approve. Second.
All right, we got a motion by Deputy Mayor, second by Councillor Beeler to approve a resolution authorizing the interim city manager to enter into an agreement with Teamsters Local 760 for the office clerical unit for 2024 through 2026. Is there debate on this item? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. I too vote aye. Motion passes. Item P, City Hall backup generator authorizes interim city manager to purchase a backup generator. Mr. City Manager.
Turn this over to Mr. Knight from IT.
Mr. Knight.
This will be a backup generator for City Hall for the servers and the building in case of a power outage to keep everything running.
Council, questions or comments?
Can't believe we've gone this long without one.
I am a little surprised myself, sir.
I am as well.
So yes, we're at great risk of losing data and damaging equipment if we don't have a backup generator to protect that. And I think it's high time we take care of that. All right, what is the desire of council on this item?
Approve. Second.
All right, we have a motion by Councilor Beeler, second by the Deputy Mayor to authorize the interim city manager to purchase a backup generator. Debate on this item? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. I also vote aye. Motion passes. Item Q. This is a first. I don't think we've ever gone all the way up to item Q in the active agenda, and we're not finished yet. SMC Title 17 Amendment. Adopt an ordinance amending Title 17 of the Sunnyside Municipal Code to include accessory units. Mr. City Manager.
Turn this over to Mr. Martin.
Mr. Martin.
Good evening, City Council. So tonight I have before you an ordinance that the Planning Commission put together at the beginning of 2023 to allow chickens into the city under certain conditions. I believe during our study sessions, we talked about potentially amending this proposed ordinance to require permits. And then I did find the section where it says fewer than 3. I would recommend changing that to up to 3 instead of fewer than 3. But that's what I have for you. If you have any questions.
Questions for Mr. Martin?
No need to clip the wings, right? All right. Just for the record.
No, nothing.
All right, and this is for hens only, not roosters at all. Nobody wants to wake up at 4 a.m. with a crowing rooster under their window if they're not raising the chickens themselves. All right, no further questions. What is the desire of council on this item?
I move to amend this ordinance so that we can require the owners to obtain a permit so we can know where to locate where these hens are at.
Okay, we have a motion to amend the ordinance to require a permit.
I'll second.
Okay, we've got a motion by Ms. Vasquez.
1 second.
Yes.
We talked about the registration requirement and I believe imposing a permit fee or.
Ms. Vasquez, you want to state your motion again?
Yeah, so oh my God, sorry. I want to move to amend this ordinance to require a permit to be obtained and a permit fee to be proposed.
Okay, so we have a suggested ordinance before us. She wants to amend it before we vote on it so that it changes to get to cover the desired. Okay.
Real quick before we vote, I think it might be prudent for part of the motion to set the amount. And I would ask Ms. Horner to maybe what it would cost staff time to process those.
Actually, my preference would be to just indicate that a fee would be set according to resolution. And that way we can update it easily with our fee resolution. So on the other ones that do have a fee, we'll probably ask you to go back and make amendments to those later to remove those, but it's okay. We'll get to that.
Okay. Very good. Are we all clear? We have a motion before us to amend the ordinance to require a permit and a fee for the keeping of chickens, poultry. I guess chickens. We're not allowing turkeys, are we? So keeping chickens in the city of Sunnyside. Is there debate on this item? Hearing none, what is the, sorry, all in favor of the amendment, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Wait, nobody second.
Yeah.
I second.
Okay, I thought we had a second. I
No.
wrote down that we had a second from the deputy mayor, but
Oh, you did second. Oh, I'm
Second, the
sorry.
first one,
Oh,
but then I had to
okay.
correct it.
Get it
So the-
together, council.
The corrected one was
Robert's
that.
rules,
Yeah.
girls and boys.
I know it's late.
good.
And
That hasn't been stated. Does it need to be?
so I'll redo it all.
Okay, let's,
So I need to amend this ordinance to first edit and modify the wording to say up to 3 hands. And second, to require the owners to obtain a permit with a fee that we will later on discuss and bring forth with Jameson Horner
No. Mama.
by resolution.
I second. All right.
Okay.
all right, so we have the motion and now Ms. Frausto has seconded it. But do we have to undo the motion that we just did? Because we had a second by the deputy mayor previously.
Mr. Ray.
Okay, very well. All right, now. All in favor of this motion to amend the motion or to amend the suggestion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. I too vote aye. Motion passes. All right.
I think that one needs an applause.
Okay, now we're going to adopt an ordinance amending Title 17 because we just approved the amendment to the ordinance. So the next one is to adopt an ordinance amending Title 17 the Sunnyside Municipal Code to include accessory uses. All right, what is the desire of council on this item? As amended previously.
A move to approve.
All right, Ms. Hart
Second.
and Mr. Beeler, thank you. And a motion by Ms. Hart, second by Mr. Beeler to adopt the ordinance amending Title 17 of the Sunnyside Municipal Code to include accessory uses. And as amended, up to 3 hands must obtain a permit with a fee later to be determined by resolution. Debate on this item. Hearing none, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. I too vote aye. Motion passes.
All right.
Now you can celebrate.
Yay.
Item R, fireworks. Adopt an ordinance amending chapter 5.42 of the Sunnyside Municipal Code to allow for the specific use of fireworks from July 2nd through July 6th, contingent on obtaining a city permit. Mr. City Manager.
Mr. Martin again.
Mr. Martin.
All right, great. So what I have before you is an amendment to 542 of the Sunnyside Municipal Code. And so in this, there's a proposed amendment for creating a private display of fireworks, which is a entertainment feature at a private residence, and then adding a specific item for private display of fireworks. And tentatively, it is from July 2nd through July 6th. And there's a few items that have been included in that. Any questions?
Questions for Mr. Martin? Mr. Deputy Mayor.
What are we gonna do for, I guess, the vendors that want to sell fireworks? I prefer.
We don't allow that.
We don't allow it.
We don't allow that.
We haven't allowed it for some years now.
Yeah, we don't allow. it.
Gotcha.
Yeah. They could go other places and buy them that are relatively close, but we don't allow that in the city limits.
Okay.
Other questions or comments?
Was there gonna be an amendment to this as well to add the time?
We had talked about that. We could also bring up the question of the New Year's celebration at a later date as well. This would apply to the 4th of July celebration. And we can talk about New Year's celebrations.
Another time.
Just to be clear, I added the 2nd through the 6th because depending on where the 4th of July falls, there might be people that might be like it might just depend when people are, it might be a weekend, it might be a weekday. So it just kind of depending, that's what my thought was in that.
And we do have to allow for a little exuberance. I mean, the entire month or 6 weeks of the summer, no, but yeah, come on.
5 days is enough.
Yeah, I agree, because sometimes they buy a lot of fireworks and there's a lot of leftover the next day. So then they want to get rid of it and pop it and enjoy it.
or save it for New Year's.
That is also true. All right. Further questions or comments on this item? Hearing none, what is the desire of council on this item? As it's presented here on this.
I move to amend the motion by adding a time, I guess, to 11 PM, July the 6th.
Okay.
I thought we said,
Well,
yeah, I thought we said midnight.
Do we want to go midnight?
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
I think so.
Midnight the sixth or midnight each night?
well,
I would
Each
suggest
night,
midnight each
Midnight.
night.
each night.
Yeah, I move to amend the motion by adding time limit midnight each night. That sound good?
Okay. So we have a motion to amend this motion as well. Mr. Beeler?
Clerical, wouldn't we also have to have a not before time?
Between.
So we could say between the hours of, so you're not wanting it fireworks going off at 5 AM?
Maybe.
I don't.
PM and 11:59 PM.
6 PM to 11:59?
Mr. Mayor,
People would start before.
It could be noon to midnight.
Yeah.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, ma'am.
I would suggest that if we're going to put a start time on it, let's make it reasonable around 6 o'clock. Fireworks are not much fun unless it's dark outside, but people are excited to set them off earlier. So if we could keep them contained between 6 o'clock and midnight, I think that would be reasonable. And each night of the week there.
For clerical purposes, I would recommend if you're going to do that, to have the ending time be 11:59 PM as opposed to midnight, because that creates a whole other issue whether it starts at midnight going forward as opposed to that's the morning.
Okay.
Sounds right to me.
Has everybody got that? So that it would be that they would be able to use those. Okay, so we're amending the ordinance to be something, adopt an ordinance amending chapter 5.42 of the Sunnyside Municipal Code to allow for the specific use of fireworks from July 2nd to July 6th, contingent on obtaining a city permit to be set off between the hours of 6 PM and 11:59 PM on those dates. Okay,
So
all
moved.
right. So voting on the amendment now, do we have a motion? I guess that would be Deputy Mayor, correct?
Motion to approve, as stated by Mayor.
Okay, do we have a second?
I second.
Good. Poker Baker second.
Okay, so we got a motion by the Deputy Mayor, second by Councilor Frausto to amend this motion. Any debate on this item? Hearing none, all in favor of this motion, please, or this amendment, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I
Opposed, no?
No.
Okay, we got one no. I vote aye. 5 yes. All right, now we've got the amended motion before us. Adopt an ordinance amending chapter 5.42 of the Sunnyside Municipal Code to allow for the specific use of fireworks from July 2nd through July 6th, contingent on obtaining a city permit to be used between the hours of 6 PM and 11:59 on those dates. What is the desire of council on this item?
So move.
One second.
All right, we got a motion by Councilor Hart, second by Deputy Mayor. I've just read the motion. Any debate on this item? All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. All right, I too vote aye, motion carries. Yard sales. That seemed a lot more cumbersome than it needed to be, didn't it? Yard sales, adopt an ordinance amending chapter 5.18 regarding yard sales, rummage sales, etc. of the Sunnyside Municipal Code to charge for a permit. Mr. City
Yeah.
Manager.
Mr. Martin again.
Mr. Martin.
So this is something that's been in a little bit of discussion. So to kind of set, because summertime is so, there's so many yard sales during the summer. And our code enforcement does spend quite a bit of time picking up these signs. We want to propose a potential permit for yard sales. It's not very much, but I think it does put a little bit of ownership into obtaining the permit and a little bit of ownership into potentially taking down the signs. And staff is spending quite a bit of time on it. Grandview, their signs are their yard sale permits are $5. Granger, there's $5. I think Mabton is $50 for the year or $10 per yard sale or something like that. So we wanted to be in line with what Grandview and Granger are already doing. But it just again, help promote a little bit of ownership towards the action itself and help offset a little bit of the staff time that's spent towards picking up yard sale boxes on Monday morning. So.
Council, questions or comments for Mr. Martin?
Is there going to be some sort of enforcement on the people doing the yard sales if they don't take the sign down?
Yeah, I mean, there is already. So what's happening right now, and we've kind of covered this quite a bit, is that we do take down the signs and we do return them to the owner. We give them a verbal warning stating that if you this is your warning. If you don't take your signs down next time, you're going to get a fine. What's been happening is the signs will be put up on Saturday morning, and they'll just have arrows to say yard sale Decatur, and that's all it'll be. And so there's nothing left. There's no address left on it, or they don't apply for an existing permit right now. So what we're hoping with this is that if one neighbor says, well, I paid $5 for my permit, my neighbor's not paying $5 for they will hopefully kind of enforce itself a little bit, which is what we're hoping will also happen. But no, people are being clever about it. When there's enforcement involved, people tend to get clever. So they'll do things where they'll put a box up that has an arrow, put a rock in it, and we'll eventually throw the box away because it has no address on it. So that's usually what happens.
Are we going to have somebody on the weekend enforcing the permit, or just kind of like self-enforcing, like you said?
It's currently self-enforcement. That would have to be probably renegotiated through the union contracts, I would imagine.
It would probably cost us more to pay somebody to come on the weekend than it would be what any return would be.
I don't necessarily agree. I think the current employees for code enforcement are in the public works contract, and that contract does allow for weekend work. And there are 2 staff members, so theoretically they could stagger their schedule. The schedule will be set by the city. So it doesn't necessarily have to increase costs to do some staffing that would make that work.
Mr. Mayor?
That would be good.
Ms. Hart.
Well, I think that when we talked before about the yard sale sign enforcement, we said something about that they were picked up on Monday, which a lot of people's yard sales were kind of run over into Sunday, just because they got leftover stuff. So I think that rather than spending money for a weekend, I think continue just have them do it as a Monday sweep through town kind of situation. That also gives our yard sellers, if we advertise this in the paper to say this is how it's going to be, and I think and on our other social medias, I think that people will get the idea that there is a fine attached and how much it is, and people are encouraged to get the permit to have the yard sale. But I think that to have our staff work on weekends for yard sales, I don't really see the necessity of that. I think it would be better just to kind of work on a cleanup on Monday.
Ms. Vasquez.
So we necessarily wouldn't be spending more money because, as Jameson said, we would just be modifying the schedules. And I do think that we should probably have someone during the weekend, just because a lot of times these yard sales are happening throughout the weekend. And if they see that code enforcement is driving around, they will feel more of that pressure and need to pick up after themselves by Sunday, because I believe that everyone should be picking up after Sunday, because then Monday comes around and we're still seeing these boxes and it's a start of a new week. So and it doesn't have to be all year type of thing. We could probably just do it throughout the summer when yard sales is very big. And then once they start dying down, then the schedule could be go back to how it originally was.
That makes
Okay,
sense.
well, the question before us is charging for a permit.
Let's do
Yeah.
that.
Ms. Horner.
I was just gonna say, I believe that most of the discussion on scheduling and stuff is really something that would be handled administratively from the city's side, from the staff side, and I do think we could just have somebody work intermittent weekends too. If the public doesn't necessarily know what weekends they're working, all of these things can help with enforcement. So I don't know that it's necessarily super important to get that part pinned down right now. Whether or not you want to charge a fee and then have a penalty if that fee's not paid is, I think, more fundamental to the question.
Right. And I'd like to stick to the question that we have before us this evening, so. Ms. Vasquez.
So I see here that the permit fee will be $5. Will we discuss later on what the fee will be or the fine will be if they don't purchase this?
We already do have a fine in place.
Okay, how much is that?
I believe it's either I think I would have to go back and look, but it's either $50 or $100, I believe.
Okay, and then moving forward, that'll.
For boxes too. If we find boxes, we generally give a warning or two, and then we'll go back and assess. It usually takes about 1 or 2 tries, and then they stop leaving boxes around. So
Okay.
once they hear the fee, the fines amounts. Okay.
Yeah, there it is.
Okay, so yeah, so there you go.
Oh, she found it.
So
Okay.
that'll probably wipe out your yard sale.
Yeah.
Have these codes been enforced quite a bit in the past year?
We've been slowly implementing them and making the community more aware of it. But there are some that have been heavily enforced, such as our illicit discharge. That one's been pretty heavily enforced over the last year. So we are slowly educating the public as we go through them. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so the question before us is, do we adopt an ordinance amending chapter 5.18 regarding yard sales, rummage sales, etc., the Sunnyside Municipal Code to charge for a permit? What is the desire of council on this item?
So move.
A second.
All right, we've got a motion by Councilor Hart, second by Councilor Vasquez. The ordinance as read. Debate on this item? All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. I too vote aye. Motion passes. Item T, ambulance purchase. Consider authorizing the interim city manager to purchase a new ambulance. Mr. City Manager.
Turn this over to Chief Albert.
Chief.
Mr. City Manager, Mr. Mayor, and council members, just again present to you tonight the request to continue keep us on track with our apparatus replacement schedule. We were originally scheduled to purchase 2 ambulances in 2024. But due to a catastrophic failure in a current unit in our fleet, we opted to receive council approval to purchase one, I believe in October, which for those of you who attended the push-in ceremony, you will notice that we did recently take receipt of that unit. So now our replacement schedule is just down to 1 for 2024. So what I present to you is to allow the city manager to enter an agreement to purchase. As it says in our summary, we did reach out to multiple vendors based on pricing in comparison to some safety features that are proprietary to the entity that we are opting to go with. It is my professional belief that this is by far the best route to go for the city, again, both financially and in return based on what the piece comes with. So you see there is a budget amendment difference. The reason I propose this is keeping on track with our schedule. We are amortizing approximately 50% of an annual replacement cost, or excuse me, an ambulance replacement cost each year. But what I propose is that Horton Ambulance came to us and offered us a prepayment discount. The discount is relatively insignificant, but savings is savings. But the real value also comes in is that we immediately secure a chassis, which cuts our build time down from 28 to 36 months to 12 months. To use an example, Vashon Island took advantage of the same program, and they received their ambulance within 7 months from the date it was ordered, which is pretty awesome. But that would be the reason for the budget amendment. Otherwise, if we opt to not go that route, then we'd wait out with approval, continue to place the order, but would delay payment, which again would extend out our build time, and we would not take advantage or be able to take advantage of the prepayment discount. So welcome to take any questions.
Council members, questions or comments? Mr. Beeler.
Are we gonna stick with another 4-wheel drive?
That is correct, sir. The unit being proposed will be virtually identical to the one that you saw at our push-in ceremony. Different brand, very subtle differences, but otherwise, to the average person, you wouldn't be able to tell the difference. It'd be almost identical.
Further questions? Hearing none, what is the desire of council on this item?
Move to approve.
Second.
All right, we've got a motion by Deputy Mayor, second by Councilor Bueller to authorize the interim city manager to purchase a new ambulance. Is there debate on this item? Hearing none, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. I too vote aye. Motion passes. Make the order, sir.
Signed it.
You just signed it now already, huh? All right, we have a public hearing. As such, I'm going to read the public hearing. The public hearing concerns the Herrera rezone. We are being asked this evening to adopt an ordinance codifying the rezoning of several parcels, and I'm not going to read all of them right now, located in the vicinity of Columbia and Buena Vista Avenues to be rezoned from low-density residential R1 to medium-density residential R2 on the official zoning map. Pursuant to that, let me read the form for the public hearing. This public hearing has been being held to receive public comments and recommendations concerning the rezoning of parcels number 221-026411451, 221-026411428, 221-026411450, and 221-026411452, located in the vicinity of Columbia and Buena Vista Avenues to be rezoned from single-family residential to medium-density residential on the official zoning map. The appearance of fairness disclosures. The concern is that this hearing be fair in form and substance as well as appearance. Council members, do any of you have a conflict of interest concerning this issue? Do any of you stand to gain or lose any financial benefit as a result of the outcome of this hearing? If your answer is yes, please speak now. Council members, can you hear and consider this in a fair and objective manner? If your answer is no, please speak now. Audience members, is there anyone in the audience who objects to my participation or any other council member's participation in these proceedings? If there are objections, please approach the microphone, state your name and city of residence, and state your objection. The time is now 8:50 p.m. and public hearing is now open. City manager will provide the staff report on this item.
Turn it over to Mr. Martin.
Mr. Martin.
Good evening, City Council. So on April 8th, 2024, the Planning Commission held an open record public hearing. It was noticed per City of Sunnyside statute to all the surrounding neighbors. And it held a public hearing discussing the rezone of 4 parcels within the vicinity of Buena Vista and Columbia. And to the current underlying zoning is underlying future land use is residential, and the applicant is requesting to go from R1 to R2. So during the public hearing, we discussed that across the street on Columbia, that there are several duplexes, and just down the street a little bit further is a fairly sizable apartment complex. So upzoning from R1 to R2 made some sense on this in this area, and I suspect potentially may continue in the future. So the reason the applicant would like to do this is because they would like to build at a greater density than a duplex on the lot that they own right there at the corner. It's kind of an L-shaped lot that is right there. The primary access would be off of Buena Vista, and it would kind of go to the back. There it is. So the primary access would be on the thinner part of the L, with the main housing structure being on the larger part facing Columbia. No access off of the alleyway that it was I forget the name of the alleyway that's right there. Ravine. Yeah, that's it. Ravine. Yes. No access off of Ravine. And again, with that would all come general site improvements. But before they can get to that point, they would like to upzone from R1 to R2 to just allow it for a slightly higher density. And that's what I am requesting from the city council today. Are there any questions?
Okay, public members or members of the public. Any person in the audience wishing to be heard on this matter, please approach the microphone, state your name and address, and offer your testimony. Is there anybody on the list there?
And the applicant is here tonight if you would like to hear from him, but.
Okay, thank you, sir. All right, council members, any questions or comments on this item?
I have
Mr.
something.
Deputy Mayor.
So I was looking at the parcel owners and Mr. Herrera only owns two of the parcels. Is there a reason? I mean, why is he trying to get the other two parcels under?
Well, typically for rezone purposes, what it generally works better when you have more people involved, in case properties ever change hands in the future. The house that I believe is on the corner right there, I believe is a duplex at this point in time. So upzoning it would just bring the property into additional compliance. So that's usually what it's for. We like to have multiple property owners if they are interested in upzoning their property, so maybe to have a little bit more utility in the future.
The other two property owners, they're aware of it, right? It's not like one of my neighbors could zone my house later on without me.
Yeah, no, so the other properties owners that have signed on, they have their signatures consenting to this.
Gotcha.
And I can tell you it's that the one that's, oh, could you zoom that back in, Jackie? Sorry. That one that's labeled is 41450 on this map is already has been a duplex its entire life. That was built as a duplex and it continues to be. I've done work in that over the years. And I don't know what the 452, that one there, I don't know if that's a duplex or a single family unit, but
I think it is a duplex as well.
it's fairly new. So, Council, would you like to hear from the property owner himself?
Yeah.
And ask him some questions? Mr. Herrera, would you please come on up?
Yes, please.
If we have any questions for Mr. Herrera.
Hi, my name is Christopher Herrera. I live on 1518 South Fortune Street. I've been living here in Sunnyside, Washington for about 15 years. And I'm just trying to invest in the community and right here in town. I'm not a big company. I'm just trying to build some rentals properties because there's not a lot of rental properties. In fact, I was sold my house, the first house that I bought when I got here. And I was renting it for $1,200. And the lady that bought it for me, she said she got 50 applications and she got $1,600. So I mean, that just gave us an idea how much rent we need around here. So what I'm planning to do right here is a fourplex. So that's about to do a fourplex. So that's what I'm here for.
Council members, questions for Mr. Herrera? Go ahead, Mr. Deputy Mayor.
Are you gonna take any of the buildings down to build the fourplex or leave those and build it around?
There's enough space for a fourplex right there.
And that's the one you own, right?
Yes.
And then what's the other one?
Which one? The one on the back?
What other property do you own?
The 4152 too.
Okay,
Yeah, that's a duplex, like 3 years old.
okay.
Yeah.
Further questions? Thank you, sir. You may sit down.
Thank you.
All right, there being no additional comments from the public or council, let the record show this public hearing is closed and the time is 8:56 PM. All right, so now we have to vote on this, adopt an ordinance codifying the rezoning of the parcels aforementioned located in the vicinity of Columbia and Buena Vista Avenues to be rezoned from low density R1 to medium density residential R2 on the official zoning map. What is the desire of council on this item?
Move to approve.
I'll second.
Absolutely. Duplex.
Okay, we've got a motion by Councilor Beeler, second by the Deputy Mayor. Debate on this item.
We do need more rentals.
I would agree.
I see on Facebook all the time. I'm looking for a house. I'm looking for someplace, a room.
Yeah.
A roof that doesn't leak. Yes, I hear you, sir. Further comments? All right, hearing none. All in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. I too vote aye. Motion carries. Item V. All right, council, I do want to make you aware of the fact that we have 30 minutes to meet under state law. We cannot surpass 30 minutes and we still have a number of items to carry. So we're going to have to be brief on this one.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, ma'am.
I would like to table this one until our next meeting to give us a little more time to digest what it's about. just in the interest of time.
Ms. Frausto, this is your item. I don't know how you feel about that.
Yes. And I believe the intent is to propose and allow y'all to sit with this, because I don't think we're gonna vote on it until next time we meet. So I actually would move to go through this item.
Okay, so you just want to explain it and not, because it's out here for it's got a motion under it. And so,
Yes, yes, but Mr.
is
Mayor,
your intention just to propose this or present it to us and get us to think about it?
Intent to enact initiative and referendum. Mr. Riley, could you explain a little bit?
When you're making this type of change to the organized code, typically what you need to do is introduce it for a review, and then you vote on it at the next meeting.
yeah, but
Okay, because I'm looking at the language here, it says approve a resolution declaring an intent. So just wanted to make sure that we're all clear on the same, that we're moving in the same direction here in our thinking.
I just think that, Mr. Mayor, I just believe that under the circumstances, this is a brand new item. There hasn't been any discussion about it. I haven't, heard anything about it before. I'd like a little bit of time to look at what we've presented on this before and it's late in the evening. I don't think I have my best thinking hat on right now. Could we please table it until the next meeting and start on it then? At our 28th meeting and begin, is that okay with you, Ms. Fosco, as far as this is your motion? I just really think in the interest of us truly understanding it, I think we need to be given more time in the fact that we only have half an hour left.
Council members, what is your thoughts? What are your thoughts on this? On the thoughts of tabling this one for?
I think it's just the start of a conversation. I mean, every week we get these items and we don't know anything about them. So, I mean, I'm okay with hearing and Ms. Frost, Councilor Frosto.
Okay, other council members want to comment on this?
I'll leave it up to Councilor Frausto's choosing.
Okay. All right, well, we're going to have to be, if it seems as if we want to move forward, Ms. Frausto, are you amenable to tabling this and moving this to our next meeting for discussion?
I'd rather start the conversation now.
All right, well, it seems as if you are in the majority, Ms. Frausto, so please present to us.
And I really want to do this because I've talked Mr. Riley's ear off this past week, just trying to get more information about it myself. And thank you, Deputy Mayor. We do get these packets almost a week in advance. So it is our job to go through this and read through this before we come to council. So I'm going to be as brief as I can to introduce what I brought forth today. And really what this is that I was researching and I saw that we are a code city that hasn't adopted the powers for initiative and referendum. And I believe it is crucial for promoting democratic principles, citizen empowerment, accountability, and responsive governance. It also strengthens a relationship between government and citizens, leading to an inclusive local democracy. And it also lends to checks and balances, accountability. And we have, believe there's a consensus amongst council that it is really important to continue engaging our community in our decision-making. And I did print out, I know Councilor Hart, you're not present, and I can give this to you later. It is a couple printouts of other code cities that have implemented or adopted the powers of initiative and referendum. You can pass that to Councilor Bueller. And there's various cities across the state. The one that's not included on here that adopted the powers for initiative and referendum is actually Yakima, but it's not listed here. I believe this was updated in 2022, so I think it's a couple years behind. This all comes directly from MRSC. So what this allows any community member to do, obviously, as long as it's lawful and it's legal, it will go through different processes and procedures. Mr. Riley, please correct me if I'm wrong. To bring forth an initiative that they believe that council should consider, or a referendum to any legislation that we have passed. We are one governing body, and I believe the community is another. Now, this isn't to maybe get a little or mistake of who will lead the governance in our city. Obviously, we are here voted to make sure that we lead those efforts. But I believe this is a supplement, I think, support and really just opening up and giving our community the power to question, push back, and even bring forth something that they think better benefits them that we haven't thought about. So this is it. I mean, I can definitely go into this a little bit further. Initiatives or referendums, how many signatures, their signatures are required. So if y'all have heard, a recent example is something that has been happening in Yakima, where the council had actually voted to eliminate some citizen advisory boards, and the community wasn't in agreement with it, because they think these committees and these commissions are really important to allow the community to have more of a say and in our governance and the way that we operate. And so they went back and they tried to obtain a certain amount of signatures to bring back to council and demonstrate why it is important to keep said committees. Now, that's just an example of what has happened locally. Again, this is definitely, I mean, I think this would be beneficial to our community to enact, and I wanted to bring forth this proposal and give you all an initial explanation of what this is and how this could enhance our governance process, and how this could give a lot more voice and power and engagement, if you will, overall to our community overall. And if there are any other questions that I could ask in the meantime, I am happy to send this information over to any of you. This is strictly from MRSC, so this is all documented online. But many cities across the state have enacted something like this. I checked, we don't have a current ordinance on this. And I thought maybe it would be worthwhile to maybe continue or begin thinking about this and begin thinking about how it could positively impact our residents here in Sunnyside.
Thank you for that presentation. I know, as you mentioned, we receive our agendas several days before the meeting, and we do have time to look at it. However, in this particular case, the first time we saw this particular agenda item was when we received our agenda. That hadn't come up in discussion before, so I can kind of take Miss Hart's point as well, because this kind of came out of the blue. When I looked at my agenda Thursday, I said, "Oh, what's this?" So I had to go and do some digging and some research on all of that and see what was going on in different cities. I'm not ready to vote on this one yet. I am ready to research it. I'm ready to talk about it. I don't know how other council members feel. Council members, comments, questions on this?
I'd like to see more on it too.
I think
Very interesting to get the public involved and give them a say so. But I don't know how it actually works.
Mayor,
Yes, ma'am.
I have to apologize. The email from Ben does say to introduce the item today, but I think I was it's a big agenda, and so I was in a hurry, and I put to consider approving this item today, but Ben's email and does say to introduce the item today for possible action on the 28th.
Okay.
So I'm sorry.
We're not taking action on this today.
Okay, well, on my agenda, it's got that we are, so that's why I was a little bit confused, and I apologize for that.
Yeah. I mean, could we take maybe a minute? So Mr. Riley, would you lean in and maybe talk a little bit more about the process?
Well, it's up to you what you do with this going forward, but you are, as a code city, allowed to adopt a referendum initiative if you choose to do so. And that simply allows the public to propose initiatives and referendums as part of your general elections here in Sunnyside. And you can do it, you don't have to do it in November. You can do it any time of day designated for general elections to occur. So it's like passing a bond or a levy as far as the scheduling goes for all of this. So what an initiative and a referendum actually include? Well, that's a very broad thing. It can be recalling members in these situations. Potentially, it can be taxation of some sort locally if you want to increase that. it runs the gamut. And so that's some of the things you can do as far as initiatives and referendums go. A lot of cities, I don't know, cities do these, as Councilperson Frosto was talking about in the situation, it does occur a lot in situations where cities do repeal boards and commissions sometimes, so they can allow those to occur in the city if they believe they should be part of those inclusions. So these are subject to state review with the Office of Financial Management and the Election Board. So if they're determined to be unconstitutional later or prior to enactment, if someone brings it to the attention, the Attorney General's office can invalidate these before they go on the ballot, depending on what the subject matter is of the referendum. So that's in a nutshell, kind of the few of the things you want to be aware of going through with this. Councilperson Frosto is right. The MRSC actually has a wealth of information on cities that have these currently and where they're enacted in several code cities in Washington State. So you're not doing anything out of the ordinary if you were to vote or allow for this to go. It would codify that the city citizens would be able to propose referendums or initiatives if they chose to do so.
Thank you, sir. I know for my part, I don't have a strong opinion one way or the other way on this one. I know it's fairly popular. The state of Washington has a long history of those types of things. But with the length of this agenda packet and reading it over the weekend, it took several days to work my way through that.
Exactly.
And by the end of it, my mind was getting kind of to where it is now, just tired. So I didn't have a chance to dig too deeply, and I would like time to be able to do that and be able to respond intelligently to questions and or ask questions. So I don't know how the rest of council feels, but that's definitely, we can include this on the agenda for our next meeting.
Absolutely.
Okay, all right. So without objection, this will be continued to the next meeting.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, ma'am.
I would just like to echo what you just said there, because that was my problem as well. It's complicated and it's I think it just needs a little more research. So if we can just have the research done and a little bit more information on it and talk about it more at the 28th meeting, 29th.
Thank you, Ms. Hart. Yes.
Thank you.
All right. Items from council members, other reports, announcements, and or questions by council. Please, let's try to keep this brief. Tonight is getting really late and we've got a couple things to go yet.
Executive session.
We'll start with Mr. Beeler.
Nothing to report.
All right. Ms. Vasquez.
Nothing to report.
Ms. Fausto.
I really just want to take, I promise I'll be very, very brief, but we have somebody in the audience who proposed a proclamation today to recognize mental health awareness. And it is a topic that's very dear to my heart. It is a topic that is very taboo in our community. And I appreciate the youth being proactive in distributing information everywhere, not just in Sunnyside. In this case, Ms. Yakima County has been working throughout the Yakima County to make sure that everybody is aware of the implications of mental health, how much we don't speak about it and how much we don't act on it. So I commend you for being here. I commend you for signing that submitting that proclamation, and I commend you for all the work that you are doing at your age. It actually inspires me a whole bunch, and I know it inspires a lot of members here on this council. So thank you for that. Thank you for your work in our community, and thank you for inspiring me in the work that I do. So that's all I was gonna say. Please stick around a little bit. We're gonna go into executive session, but before I leave tonight, I would love to take a picture with you and thank you publicly. Thank you for all the work that you've been doing, and please keep going.
Mr. Deputy Mayor.
Councilor Ripley and I went to Roslyn last week or the week before, I don't even remember. And we met with the AWC people. They showed us, they had a presentation about different emergencies, mainly fire emergencies, but it kind of pertains to having a plan for all sorts of emergencies. Also, Washington Filmworks, they're a company that brings in a lot of commercial filming to Washington, and they have a website, washingtonfilmworks.org, and you can upload pictures of, say you have a barn, maybe they could use it for a commercial, even a movie. I went on there, and Sunnyside has about 10 different pictures, and they're all pretty old. They're like at least 20 years old. So if anybody has pictures to upload, go ahead and do it there, and you'll get compensated to film a commercial if they decide to do it on your property. And then I had other stuff, but it could wait. One thing on Sixth Street by the railroad tracks, there's one of the new trees is dead. So if I remember correctly, I think the contractor said that they were gonna warranty any dead trees. Just kind of wanted to see, maybe we could follow up on that and have it replaced, because it looks pretty bad. Dead, no trees, no leaves. That's all I have for now.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Hart.
Nothing to report.
All right, thank you. So just a couple of things. Number one, Cinco de Mayo, well done. It was a great time. I talked a lot with our police officers and firefighters who were out there serving, paramedics, and what a great attitude among those guys. And the people who organized it, the city staff who was out there, all bang up job, you guys. It was great. And I was there every day, even in the rain Saturday morning. And yeah, we had a great time. Overate as usual. And I got to participate in the push-in ceremony with the fire truck and the ambulance, and that was a lot of fun too. So other stuff can wait for another meeting. Upcoming council meetings. You see here on our list, we've got May 28, a regular meeting. That agenda continues to grow. June 10, we've got a study session and then regular meeting. And June 24, we got our study session and regular meeting. Please be advised that if you have agenda items to add, they are due on the Wednesday before the meeting. Anytime later than that, we're going to move it back a meeting. Okay, and as you can see, agenda items are constantly being added.
At my own time.
All right, so next item is items from department heads. Chief.
We'll start with Ms. Navarro on the end to work this way.
Nothing for me tonight.
Nothing for me.
I just had the ARPA report that was attached to the end of your agenda, and in the name of time, I'll just allow you guys to ask questions if you have any on that, and that's all I have.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Sanchez.
I don't have a lot either. I just wanted to, speaking of ARPA, the Stackhouse Triangle was one of the ARPA projects, and that just got completed. So that's all.
That looks good.
Couple things from me tonight. So just a quick overview of this. The department's created 166 records, done 303 inspections, issued 132 permits, and collected a little over, well, right around $73,000 in revenue. My other announcement is that tonight is my last night as an employee of the city of Sunnyside. So I will be I've accepted another offer in the city of Yakima. Corey Taylor, who is our deputy fire marshal, our deputy department director and fire marshal, will be, I assume, acting in my absence until the position is filled. So yes, that's all I have.
We are sorry to see you go, sir.
Very sorry to see you go, sir.
Nothing for me unless anyone has any questions at this time.
Thank you, sir. Chief?
I'll save you on the statistics and the purpose of time here, but I just want to reiterate, Mr. Mayor had mentioned he was in attendance with, as well as Deputy Mayor Galvan and Councilor Beal. I really appreciate those who were able to attend our push-in ceremony. It was I found to be very successful. The turnout was great, and it was pretty awesome. There's really no better way to describe it. Also on that topic, myself and Assistant Chief Denbor will be attending the Washington Fire Chiefs Conference next week, which is obviously a statewide conference. But what makes us even more exciting is we've been asked to have our newest fire engine on display at the conference for chiefs across the state as a exemplary model of a fire apparatus. So Sunnyside will be represented showing our new piece of equipment, and that's very exciting for us and hopefully for you guys as well. But that is all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, I'll try to be quick. Stats well within range. Everything's normal there. We have a training requirement that we're required to meet for every officer annually. So we got a certificate from the Criminal Justice Training Commission stating that we met that minimum requirement for every officer for the year. Thursday, we'll be participating in memorial service for Police Week up in Yakima. Myself, an officer, and one of the commanders are going up for that. Tomorrow, we're hosting the Yakima Chiefs meeting. So it's all the police chiefs, usually the FBI, DEA, all the three-letter agencies, I guess, are there. Usually we get somebody from the prosecutor's office from the Eastern District of Washington, and the U.S. Marshal's office is usually there. A reminder, June 14th, movie in the park. It's going to be that evening. I want to thank the community. This week they stepped up for Police Week. Our police officers have coffee every day paid for and lunch for day shift and night shift by different restaurants. So today was, I believe it was Dosage and Domino's took care of day shift and night shift today. So, and then next week I'll be at the Washington Sheriffs and Police Chiefs Conference. So I don't know how those ended up the same week, but I'll be in Spokane next week. But that's all I have.
All right, thank you. Next item then is an executive session, 10 minutes. If we're quick, we can do it. RCW 42.30.110(1)(c) to consider the minimum price at which real estate will be offered for sale or lease when public knowledge regarding such consideration would cause a likelihood of decreased price. There's no action expected on this one. Ms. Vasquez.
Say something really quick before.
You may.
So I just want to say thank you, Trevor, for being here. I haven't known you for that long, but the moments that I have, I've gotten to hear you and your ideas and some of the things that you've been wanting to bring to Sunnyside at the economic and development meetings. So I wish you the best in Yakima and may everything go well for you. Yeah.
We do wish you the best.
Thank you. Service.
Yeah.
Excuse me. I'm not happy. I'm mad at you, Trevor. But you will do well wherever you go. I bet money on it. So thank you for everything you've done for Sunnyside.
Believe me, Ms. Hart, I have been trying to twist his arm and I just haven't been able to twist it enough. So he's giving us. All right. So as we go into executive session, we have to ask the audience to step out. So thank you for staying so long through the meeting. That's been a long one and it's been a bit of a marathon. Staff members who aren't part of the executive session may.
Depart.
Yeah.
Where's my Zoom at? Where am I at?
Is there a way to turn off the air conditioning? Well, I mean, what is it?
Action. I adjourn this meeting at 9:35.
Good night, everyone.